What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Surprise Jab Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Ruger, surprising with new topics every single week and jabbing you with your daily dose of UFC. And we're freshly back, guys, post-Christmas. I've just been planning to record a bunch of episodes, and I've just been so busy. This Christmas season has flown by, and I woke up in Chicago, Illinois, in my parents' house, my uncle and aunt's house with my cousins, and now it is the evening time, and I'm back in Minnesota, ready and willing to record this episode. So, a fantastic holiday season for me. I've reached the age now where all I get is clothes. That's right. So it's a lot of excitement when I get socks or dress pants or dress shirts. So it's kind of funny. The evolution. Now, if I were still to get toys, I think that would be awesome. But for now, we're rocking with clothes. But enough about little Christmas stuff there. Who cares about that? I'll tell you what we do care about, and that is what is fresh and hot and new in the world of, tons of stuff. Well, on today's episode, just to give you the rundown, we will be talking about the Christmas game schedule for the NFL. I went 3-3 on my predictions, which is always nice, and my Minnesota Vikings won, which is just phenomenal to see. We start out 4-8, and we've won our last 4, and we can't make the playoffs. Utterly ridiculous. Also going to be discussing the new hit movie out on Netflix. There's been a lot of stuff out on Netflix, but Dead Man Wake Up, a Knives Out mystery. Going to be giving my thoughts on that, as well as Volume 2 of Stranger Things. I certainly have my thoughts on that, and we are also going to be giving a recap of my 2025 UFC predictions on what I nailed and what I missed on, as well as your official UFC 2025 awards. We have 9 awards this year. That's right, we have amped it up from the last 2 years, so I'm excited. I don't want to waste any more time. Let's get right on into it with what I'm going to start off is just the NFL Christmas game slate. You know, the week 17, I might record another episode here and release it tomorrow or maybe even in 2 days where I actually give my week 17 predictions out to you guys. But in terms of the 3 games we got, they weren't bad per se, but I don't want to say they were barn burners. You know, I'd say the best game was probably Cowboys-Commanders. That's what I'll say. Cowboys win 30-23 in a throwaway game, and the Commanders are 4-12. Just hilarious. But Josh Johnson, who was in his, I believe, 17th year in the NFL, just an incredible game from him, 198 yards. That's it. But I'll tell you who actually had the best game of this entire thing. You know, some would say Dak, who went 19 for 37, 307 yards, 2 tutties. Some may say him. But Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, on 11 carries, had 105 yards and 2 touchdowns. Shout out to my boy. Jackson Krosky-Merritt. In terms of the Cowboys, you know, Kevontae Turpin had a 86-yard, 1-catch touchdown. That was the highest receiving amount for the team. And as for Debo, 2 catches, 68 yards. That was the highlight for him there. And in terms of this game, I mean, really started off, and I thought it would be, you know, pretty close. It was 7-3 heading in the second quarter, and then Javonte Williams touchdown, then a Dak Prescott touchdown to Kevontae Turpin, that 86-yarder, and it was 21-3 right off rip, and you're like, okay, this is probably game over. But then Krosky-Merritt punches it in. It's 21-10. And then Brandon Aubrey, who had a great game, 16 fantasy points for him when I needed it most, coming through 24-10, head into halftime. Krosky-Merritt starts off the second half, 72-yard rushing touchdown. Phenomenal work from him. It's 24-17. Brandon Aubrey sinks a 52-yarder to make it 27-17. Then Jake Moody hits a little field goal with 16 seconds left in the third to make it 27-20. But in the fourth quarter, defenses came up big, 2 field goals from each team, and 30-23 is the final score as the Cowboys move to 7-8-1. And they'll just look to end the year 8-1, just kind of look to, play spoiler in the final game to the Giants of trying to get the number 1 pick. Actually, they would play spoiler if the Giants won. So that'd be pretty funny. But yeah, nothing on the line there for the Cowboys. Now for the Commanders. Commanders actually can play spoiler here for the Eagles. They don't even know what time that game is going to be at on the 4th of January in week 18. But what I can tell you for sure is that the Commanders are going to be hungry to hurt the Eagles. Not actually hurt them, but to wound them heading into the playoffs, as they lost 29-18 back on December 20th. But they're trying to make sure that the Eagles don't get that number 2 seed. They're trying to give that to the Bears. That's all I know, a little divisional game. But yeah, Cowboys win 30-23. First game of the day. It was all right. I'll say. But second game of the day, my Minnesota Vikings win 23-10 in one of the best defensive performances I've ever seen, and in one of the worst offensive performances I've ever seen. Just hilarious. Just honestly hilarious. So first off, game starts off 7-rip. Vikings score. Amazing work. I'm amped. Aaron Jones punches in a tutty. And then second quarter, Jared Goff pass to Isaac Tisala makes it 7-7 heading into halftime. Third quarter, just a field goal from Will Reichert, a 52-yarder, 3 minutes left in the quarter. And then another one a minute later with a minute and 57 seconds left. Nails a 56-yarder. So it's 13-7. Head into the fourth, Jesse Bates nails a 48-yarder to make it 13-10. Then Jordan Addison, chilling on my bench. He did nothing this whole game. Rips off, this is all he did the whole game, might I add you, a 65-yard rushing touchdown. I mean, just so random. It was kind of like a runaround. He gets it, shoots up the field. That is right. He ended with 12.5 fantasy points, and that's it. That is it. All he had was the touchdown of the 65-yard carry, 12.5 fantasy points. Kind of hilarious. And then with a minute left in the game, Will Reichert hit a 42-yarder. I mean, this was one of the worst performances on offense from both teams. I mean, it was truly abysmal. Jared Goff sacked 5 times, throws 2 picks. The team fumbles 3 times. I mean, this was one of the best Viking defensive performances I've seen, and we had an even better one earlier in the year. I mean, this was just phenomenal. Jahmyr Gibbs held to only 41 yards. Dave Montgomery held to only 25. I mean, this was phenomenal. Amon-Ra had 8 catches for 68 yards. But other than that, Jameson Williams, 2 catches, 37 yards. We locked him up. Only allowed Jahmyr Gibbs to get 23 yards passing or receiving. And yeah, just great work left, right, and center for that Vikings team. Now, that's for the defense. In terms of the offense, Max Brosmer, 51 passing yards and is sacked 7 times. Insane. Utterly insane. Aaron Jones on 18 carries only had 53 yards. Could not believe it. Now, I will say, shout out Max Brosmer. Had an 11-yard run at one point, showing that dog in him. Justin Jefferson, 4 catches, 30 yards. Aaron Jones, 3 catches, 10 yards. But that was kind of it. The main stars were the defense. Shout out Blake Cashman, 6 tackles, 11 assists. Also gets a sack. Byron Murphy had an interception and a fumble recovery, along with 3 tackles. Harrison Smith had 3 tackles, a sack, and an interception. Dallas Turner had a fumble recovery and half a sack. But shout out to Andrew Van Ginkel, 2 tackles, 3 assists, 1.5 sacks, and 2 fumble recoveries. What a game from him. So Vikings and Lions are both now 8-8. And if I were to tell you back in week number 13 that the Minnesota Vikings would be in third and the Lions would be in last, I'd call you silly. I'd call you, a joker. But no, the Minnesota Vikings are better than the Detroit Lions heading into week number 18. Crazy world. And, that week 18 is going to be even more nuts. The Lions are booted from the playoffs with this loss, and all they can do to, really just be a menace is defeat the Bears. But I do not have them defeating the Bears January 4th. I mean, this team just seems to have completely fallen off, so no idea what to expect from that. But I will say Packers are going to be playing extra hard against the Minnesota Vikings, but we got to get our lick back. They torched us 23-6 back on November 23rd, so I'll be rooting for the Vikings to get it done. But in terms of fantasy, this was a terrible game. I think Jared Goff had either 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. He had no fantasy points, and it was hilarious, I might add. So shout out to the Minnesota Vikings getting a win. 4 straight wins when it matters, not at all. You gotta love it. You just gotta love it. And then the final game, the night game, Broncos win 20-13 to improve to 13-3, and they're the number 1 team in the NFL. Chiefs fall to 6-10. If you'd have told me that the Chiefs were missing the playoffs this year, I'd have gone, okay, maybe they lose it in a crazy scenario to end, week number 18. But no, they're 6-10 heading into the final game of the year. Crazy, just crazy. I mean, I cannot believe it. I can't believe how bad the Chiefs were this year. And funny enough, they had Chris Oladoka in that quarterback. Had no idea who he was, but he went 13 of 22, 66 yards, and a touchdown, so not that bad. At the end of the day, I will say he didn't throw a pick. They got to find the small victories there. Kareem Hunt held the 38 yards. Isaiah Pacheco held the 32. I was honestly perplexed at this game. The game starts off, and Will Lutz hits a little field goal, easy work. And then Oladuke passes a touchdown to Brandon Smith. I mean, it was so random, and they were up 7-3, and then Will Lutz makes it 7-6 heading into the second half. Harrison Butker nails a 53-yarder to make it 10-6, and then Bo Nix, 9-yard scramble, makes it 13-10. Harrison Butker would tie the game up, but with a minute and 45 seconds left, RJ Harvey punches it in, touchdown from Bo Nix, and they get the victory 20-13. And, crazy that the Chiefs almost won with only 139 yards of total offense. Just hilarious. Just some comedic performances on Christmas Day, might I add. For the Broncos, Bo Nix, 182 yards, touchdown, interception, and got sacked once. But other than that, great game from him. He rushed for 42 yards and had a touchdown. RJ Harvey rushed for 43 yards and caught a touchdown on 5 catches for 33 yards. Shout out to him. But other than that, Cortland Sutton, 4 catches, 40 yards, was really the only one doing anything. Evan Ingram had 4 catches for only 21 yards. Troy Franklin, 4 catches, only 17 yards. Marvin Mims, 3 catches, 10 yards. Not much going on. Not much going on at all, but Broncos win 20-13. They will face off against the Chargers and was actually going to be an insane game. I mean, I don't think you could script that any better, that the Chargers are going to be squaring off with the Broncos, and we have the Raiders and Chiefs in a throwaway game in Week 18. So for both of those matchups, I might even go with the Raiders in that matchup. I kid you guys not. Like, it's just, both teams are so bad. But no, I'll probably pick the Chiefs to win that. And then for Chargers, Broncos, I'll have to see how the Chargers look this week, but honestly, might be rocking with the Broncos to get it done and end the year 14-3. It's crazy they're the best team in the NFL this year. When they started out, they just didn't really seem like that much of a heater, and they caught wind, kept going, and good work for them. So, should be exciting. We kind of know everyone who's going to make the playoffs except for the 4th seed in each of the AFC and NFC, and then we're just going to wait to see how seeding plays out as we head into the final week. But that's all we got for NFL. Now, I'll tell you what I do have, and that is a love for murder mysteries. Murder mystery movies are some of my favorite. They're so good, and one franchise I have absolutely loved is the Knives Out mysteries. We, of course, had the first movie, Knives Out, starring, of course, Daniel Craig as Benoit Blanc, this world-renowned detective, and you also had Chris Evans in that movie, among many others. And then the second film, which was, of course, A Glass Onion, had a ton of stars. Goodness me, do I even need to pull up the cast for that? I mean, just ridiculous. I can just rattle off a couple of names for you. Madeline Klein, Kate Hudson, you had Edward Norton, you had Dave Bautista, you had Hugh Grant, Ethan Hawke. You had a lot of people in Knives Out, too. Now, for Wake Up Dead Man, cast was phenomenal. It really was. You had Kaylee Spady playing Simone Vivian. She had kind of a minor role, but was still good. Andrew Scott was in this. This was my, introduction to him. Mila Kunis was a police chief here, and for some reason actually sold me when I was hating on her. Jeremy Renner was in this movie. You also had Thomas Hayden Church, Glenn Close, Josh Brolin, and Daryl McCormack making his first big movie appearance. It has a 92% Rotten Tomatoes, a 7.4 out of 10 on IMDb, and I kind of agree with an 8.1 out of 10 on the Zachary Ruger or the Surprise Jet Podcast rating scale, however you want to view it. I will say little spoilers here for the movie. Ryan Johnson, amazing work on this. 2 hours and 24 minutes. Didn't feel that long. I will say it didn't feel that long, but my one thing I will say is that you never know where this is going. Like, you legit have zero idea where this movie's going. You have no idea who has done it, which makes this so good. Because one of the issues with the first two, I will say, is they weren't predictable on who had done it. Obviously Chris Evans and Edward Norton, if you haven't seen those are the two killers in both those movies. But they, you can kind of just guess because it's a select group of people. But with how they framed this as an impossible murder, it was just too good. It really was too good. And you think it's this person at one point, then you think it's another, and the scenes never feel too drawn out. Like, really, it is a super good movie, and I encourage everyone to watch it. Netflix, they found a gem with this franchise, and the only downside is that it's taken like 3 years between each movie that they pump out. So I'm hoping the next one, whenever they make it, I know it's probably not going to be for 2 years, that it's able to come out sooner, but we'll have to see. This is super good. Daniel Craig as, it's crazy, going from the James Bond franchise to picking up this role as a detective, and it just works for him. Like, it's so fitting. And one of the things I liked with this is it was very, church heavy in this one. And it didn't even, make the church look bad. This was a Catholic movie at the end of the day. It's all about priests and the Catholic Church to an extent. And it really painted it in a good light, as our main character, who was, oh my goodness, they don't even have the main character listed on the main screen of actors. So we do got to shout out our boy here in Josh O'Connor. He was a killer. Josh O'Connor was just a killer in this. You also had Kerry Washington, Jeffrey Wright. For some reason, Joseph Gordon-Levitt is listed on the cast here. I have no idea why. That's actually really weird. He was not in this movie whatsoever, but yeah, he was absolutely phenomenal in this. It was kind of like his first big role, in my opinion. But Jeremy Renner played a bad guy. Love to see it. This feels like one of his first movies since his big bad accident. Glenn Close ended up being a part of the scheme, if you will. And Josh Brolin being this, you kind of this tyrant of a priest was just so, a character for him. I always think of him as Thanos, but just seeing him not in makeup, but having this authority to him and just having this, kind of enigma, and he's called himself like Montezor, whatever. But really good movie. Highly recommend it. If you have not seen it, go check it out. It's on Netflix. Good to watch with the family, good to watch with the girlfriend, or even good to watch alone. Movies like that are a hidden gem nowadays. If I'm being honest, sometimes these movies are hit or miss, and this one is a hit. Now, in terms of other stuff that is in the air, there's a good TV show that's been out that some people are debating if it's a hit or a miss. And if you aren't aware, that is Stranger Things Volume 2. The final season of Stranger Things. It's been nuts. It's been crazy. A lot has been going down, and let me just say, Volume 2 came out. Binge watched it with two of my cousins, actually with three for the first three episodes, or for the first episode and the last two with my other two. But, it was interesting, okay? And it was interesting because it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad, but what the Duffer Brothers were doing, they were doing a Triple H in WWE terms. They were gassing this up as the best 3-episode run. You're going to see unexpected deaths. You're going to see crazy action. And it just, it just didn't really feel that it was all of that. And now the finale is like 2 hours. The finale is 2 hours long, so it's basically a full movie. It's going to be fantastic. It comes out New Year's Eve. And the one thing I want to say about it is that there are just so many uncertainties, so many unanswered plot lines, so much unknown about the Upside Down still, that I'm just even more confused about what's going to happen. And, the final battle sequence, I think I'm getting Game of Thrones vibes. Okay, I'm getting Game of Thrones vibes where it's like we're getting into the final episode now, and this final season hasn't felt rushed like Game of Thrones did, but I'm getting the feeling where it's like there's so many things to square off that I don't know if they're going to be able to do all of it. But so far, 90% on Rotten Tomatoes, 8.6 out of 10 on IMDb, and I think that's for the entire show. In terms of Season 5, I don't know the specific ratings, but, I can go over the episodes all here real quickly. And one thing I'll say about this season is that we have so many characters now, and when it got to episode 7, there was like legit a group of like 20 people all together at once formulating plans. That's been another, I'd say a downside, especially of this Volume 2 thing, is that there were so many film sequences, so many sequences where everyone is just like debating like, I don't know what to do, and then the one character looks at like a bag of popcorn, looks at like a spinning dice, looks at something, and they just get this idea, then they explain it to everyone. Everyone's like, that's a dumb idea, let's try it. And of course it works. And I think they've just overdone it to a point where it's like, oh, okay, we just don't need that many scenes. But first episode, shock jock. You gotta remember, this is right after the crazy ending to episode 4, which I found out Season 5, Episode 4 is the highest rated episode of the entire series. I find that a bit crazy. Of course, it's when Will gets his powers, but we open up Volume 2. It is called Shock Jock, and basically, we're in Kamzatos, which is like basically, I don't even know, Vecna's mind, Henry's mind, and Holly and Derek, they're trying to work together with Max to escape, and basically, Holly and Max are able to escape while Derek distracts them. Shout out my boy, Delightful Derek, one of the highlights of this season. Absolutely loves him. Henry then discovers the plan and threatens to kill Derek's family if he helps Max and Holly anymore. So, unfortunately, Derek has been unable to assist. But anyways, Will, Joyce, Lucas, Mike, they all, kind of like reanimate a dead Demogorgon. They basically just like shock it with voltage, and this connects Will into the hive mind, and the goal is to kill Vecna. Now, obviously, he's not going to kill Vecna, so we still have 3 more episodes. But what ends up happening is Will ends up breaking Vecna's leg, or basically it's Henry's leg, to help Max escape. I will say it was a very intense scene with Max and Holly trying to escape. Very, very intense scene where they just arrive in this is where Holly arrived, and there's just a floating door. That was pretty cool. Elsewhere in the Upside Down, Hopper and Eleven escape the base with Callie, of course, number 8, number 2, number freaking 4, I don't know, but she's annoying. She's annoying. She is gosh awful. And now, I didn't care for her in season 2. She wasn't that bad, but she is just insufferable. You either like her or don't like her. There is no in between for this season. They basically find out that Dr. K has been using her for her blood, similar to how Dr. Brenner, Papa, used Henry's blood in failed experiments to give children powers, believing 11 is the key, which is why Dr. K has been after her. And very weird sequence where Callie had originally tried to escape, and she come across this rooms upon rooms upon rooms of just these pregnant women being infused with her blood. Very creepy, very weird, and it just adds more lore. Like, there's just so much lore that we're trying to, learn about and wrap up, and just here we are just receiving even more of it. But we go back to Hawkins' lab, which is in the Upside Down. Dustin theorizes that destroying a giant shield can weaken Vecna. Dustin then finds Dr. Brenner's journal and realizes he is wrong, but fails to warn the others before Nancy shoots at this giant sphere, which her and Jonathan found. And basically it just sends like a shockwave across everything. And we also learn that the Upside Down is actually, I don't even know, like an alternate dimension. It's in the same universe. It's in a wormhole, and we just get like this giant zoomed out picture of this like wormhole type of like bridge structure. And I'm just like, you got to be kidding me, gang. We have 3 more episodes. We have to wrap this up, and now we're just expanding the lore about the Upside Down. Completely nuts. But Chapter 5, Shock Jock, I think it was a good first episode after the break we had between Volume 1 and Volume 2. It was pretty sweet. We then got into Chapter 6, which was Escape from Kamzataz, which is, just from what you can guess, it's going to be Holly and Max escaping from Vecna's mind or wherever he has them trapped. After the sphere detonates, the building starts to melt, and Nancy and Jonathan are trapped in a room, and we have this super sweet moment where these two basically confess their love, but not love for each other, basically admit that, they're struggling, they both deal with their own things, and they think that they're going to die, and they want to end their relationships in good terms before being honest with each other. And because the Duffer Brothers are scared to shock the people, he has them both live. I thought this was a perfect moment to either kill Nancy, to either kill Jonathan, or especially have them both just get sucked in the scoop together. But for some reason, the melting stuff all hardens and they survive. I did not like it. And it kind of made me realize, okay, a little bit of plot armor here, even though the Duffer Brothers said there is no plot armor anymore. So we'll see. We'll keep trusting it. We keep going with the episode. And then Dustin explains to Steve that the Upside Down is not an alternate dimension, but a wormhole. There it is. It's a wormhole to another realm called the Abyss. There it is. That's the words I was looking for. They're in a wormhole is what the Upside Down is. And it's basically like in this Abyss area where it's like that wall. If you had been watching, there's a giant wall, and, eventually when they shot the sphere, Steve's car that had been in it gets sucked through, and you basically find out that they're just, like, in this giant wormhole in time and space, like, just out of anywhere. But anyways, Max and Holly uncover a memory of young Henry killing a man in self-defense after being shot at as a child, and you basically kind of see Henry go to open this briefcase, which kind of makes me think that's where he got his powers. It's a very interesting scene. It's like they were going to reveal some lore, and then they just left it on kind of just like, yeah, we're just going to leave that there. So that kind of annoyed me. You then have the hilarious scene of Erica and Murray recruiting the teacher Scott Clark to help locate Dustin's group. Of course, they got the mustache. Super funny. You also see him with this other science teacher, whoever I cannot even remember from earlier seasons. That was funny. Those three as a trio were really good. Meanwhile, Henry's using the unconscious Will, because when Will had tapped into his mind in the previous episode, he had been stuck there or something, to track Max in the real world, and he sends his demodogs to kill her at the hospital in a very intense scene. Then Hopper, 11, and Callie reunite with the others in Hawkins, and 11 is able to free Will using her mind powers. Then, back at the hospital, Lucas, Robin, and Vicky, of course Robin's love interest, protect Max from the demodogs, with Karen, Mrs. Wheeler, ultimately saving the day by detonating some oxygen machine in a laundry machine. And there was this hilarious scene where I thought that maybe Lucas was going to get murked, but instead he apparently has I don't even know what it is, a Spartan super kick from the Assassin's Creed games, and just kicks the demodog out of the way. Pretty funny. Basically, then Max ditches Holly, just leaves her on her own in the Upside Down. Absolutely. I know she had to, but I mean, come on. Poor Holly. Holly has just been through the ringer this season. Seeing her exit made from Lucas's music, Max helps Holly find her own way out by reminding her of her past bravery, allowing both to escape separately. So Max is able to jump through her little memory or whatever and get back to safety. And then Holly for goodness sakes, gets sucked into back where like Vecna's hive mind is, escapes. Vecna is chasing her. She then, wherever, universal realm that Vecna is actually in, because it's not the Upside Down, she then is able to crawl through the ground into the Upside Down, and she begins to plummet to the ground, and that's how the episode ends. I'm just like, Holly, you gotta be kidding me. I thought they were gonna kill Holly there, but no, they don't, as we open chapter 7, The Bridge, episode 7, and Max wakes safely in the real world while Holly awakens trapped in the abyss. That is right. Vecna got her again and has her sucked back up to his machine, and just very sad fortune. Dustin and Steve are able to rescue Nancy and Jonathan, and yes, they witness Holly falling through Upside Down before Henry telekinetically pulls her back up. Absolutely. Erica Murray and Mr. Clark locate Dustin's group, and everyone reunites as Dr. K orders Ackers to hunt 11. Of course, that was the military guy who had been captured earlier by 11 and Hopper. So everyone's beginning to link up. Dustin explains to the group that the Abyss is a separate dimension, and then Max reveals that Henry's plan is to merge this dimension with their real world, with their world, that is. Hopper and Steve then propose bringing the dimensions closer so that 11 and Callie can kill Henry in the Abyss while the others destroy the Upside Down. What a good plan. Callie then tells 11 that after defeating Henry or Vecna, they must die so that neither Dr. Kane or anyone else can replicate Brenner's experiment. So I don't want 11 to die. I do not want to see her die. But if Callie, you want to sacrifice yourself, you go on right ahead. I won't mind that. Then Will comes out to Gay as everyone, which they overdid. I know that it was a big moment. I know it's probably for people that are struggling to come out, but for goodness sakes, this was like a 15-minute, 10-minute sequence where it's just Will being like, we all love doing the same things. We all love doing this. We love putting like food. We love playing with toys. We love Dungeons and Dragons. I just don't like girls. And it's kind of like, okay, Will, you could have just said I'm gay and we all would have supported you, but they just drew this out and then everyone's crying and everything together. And, that's when I looked at the time and I'm like, we have like 15 minutes left of this episode. I'm starting to think nothing's going to happen, but we keep it going. Murray then drives most of the group back into the Upside Down. When Holly awakens in Henry's house, she is beaten after failing to convince the kids of the truth, and then Derek stays silent to protect his family. Derek, come on, we need you to clutch up for us, brother. And then basically Nancy just starts murking just these elite military guys. I absolutely love that. They drive into the Upside Down. It's like Murray, Steve, Jonathan, Hopper, Mike and Will might be there. I don't even know who the frick is all together. They're splitting everyone up. Dr. K watches them drive into the Upside Down as they go to fight, Vecna, kill all the Demodogs. And then we skip to the final sequence. Of course, Holly has awoken. They then are sitting around at a table. Henry then links with all 12 children, holding hands. He has candles placed all around, placing them into trances to carry out his plans. All their heads snap back, their eyes roll back, and the episode ends. And it is so underwhelming. And the only reason it's underwhelming is because the Duffer Brothers told us that this was going to be big shockers. There was going to be deaths. There was no deaths. There wasn't any shockers. If Will coming out as gay to everyone was a shocker, I don't really know what is. I'll say the biggest things that came from this 3-episode run here, Volume 2, which I find even crazier than there's not even 2 episodes left. There's really just one 2-hour episode left. New Year's Eve, and that's the finale. There's no more Stranger Things after that. I'm sure they're going to do a bunch of like offshoots of stuff, but in terms of this storyline, it's ending here. I do want to see some deaths. I'm going to be honest. At this point, I don't care who it is. I just want some emotional deaths to take place, but as I was saying, the most important stuff we've learned is that the Upside Down is basically a wormhole. Where Vecna, or Henry, is at is another dimension, which is the Abyss, and we still don't even know what his giant plan is or what he's going to do. So there's still so much uncertainties. We still just don't really know what's going to happen, but we have so many freaking characters. I wonder if there's a list. There has to be a list. Here we go. There is Joyce, Jim, 11, Mike, Dustin, Lucas, Will. We have Max. We have Nancy Wheeler. We have Jonathan Byers. That's 10. We have Steve. We have Robin. We have Murray. We have Erica. We also have, oh my goodness, what are the other names here? We have Vicky. We got Vicky there. That's 15. We also have the professor. Not the professor, the teacher. Oh my goodness, what's his name? We had just gone over his name. Whoever the teacher is, that's 16. We also have Callie, that's 17. And I want to say there's an 18th of some kind. There's another character there. I'm really trying to think. I don't know. But we have so many freaking characters in this season. I just don't even know what's going to happen. I have no idea how it's going to end. And they don't even have a psyop for the final episode. The final episode is called The Right Side Up, which means I do presume it will end happy. I'm sure they're going to have Vecna die and good come out of this. But yeah, I have no idea what's going to take place. I don't really think anyone knows what's going to go down. But yeah, Stranger Things Season 5 audience score slumps as Volume 2 is a confirmed hit. I'm interested to see what they're saying here. This is on comicbook.com. Debuted on Christmas Day at the number 3. Oh, this is just in terms of people watching it. It has an 89% audience score. Oh, no, it isn't. Here it is. 73%. There it is, 73%, which Season 4's heading into the finale was at 89%. So that makes more sense. 73%. The first 4 episodes of the season, I think, were absolute bangers. I think they were utterly phenomenal. And then, yes, I would agree. As we've gotten into this final 3 stretch, just to kind of, it's felt like every episode is just leaning into the next one and leaning into the next one and leaning into the next one. And then into the finale, I will say Season 4, Episode 8 heading into Episode 9 was insane. I felt ready to fight. I felt ready to go. And for this, I just feel like there's so much uncertainty that it almost has hurt the show. And I don't even know what's going on. Like the fall off isn't like, there's nothing rushing this. They were given 8 episodes. Each one's been over an hour. The finale's over 2 hours. I just feel like we've had a lot of unnecessary scenes, a lot of repeating scenes, a lot of, we spent a lot of time with Holly and Max in Kamsatas or wherever they're at. We have a lot of scenes where it's like everyone trying to figure out a plan and what to do, and the one character gets an idea, as I was mentioning. We've had a lot of scenes of, this isn't working. Oh, we need to do another thing. We need to do another thing. And what this season has done is not necessarily concluded everything, but heading into the finale, which I'm pretty sure the entirety of Stranger Things is either 46 or 50 hours. It's something like that. 48 hours. 48 hours of Stranger Things, and we still have so many unanswered questions with only 2 hours left to wrap it all up. So I'm going to trust in the Duffer Brothers. I'm going to hope that we get some sacrifice here. Out of the 18 characters that I listed off, it might be 17. I think out of the 17 characters I've listed off, I want to see 40% of them die. I do. And you may hear that and you're like, Zach, you're dark. You're a twisted human being. But no, we have not had any heroic sacrifices. You know who we remember? We remember the one lady, Barb, from Season 1. We remember, is it Bob from Season 2? Remember Joyce's love interest. From Season 3, we remember Alexi. From Season 4, we also remember Hopper's sacrifice in Season 3. From Season 4, we remember Eddie. And for this season, we haven't had a sacrifice at all, and I don't know who it's going to be. It's always felt like this new introduced side character, which, I thought they would have killed off some people by now, but they haven't. So, in all reality, Season 5, Volume 2, if I were to give the first 4 episodes a 9 out of 10, I'm going to give these last 3 a 6.8 out of 10. It feels too mean to give a 6. 7 just feels too generous. So that's what we're going to go with heading into the final episode, which does come out in 5 days. We don't even have to wait a full week for the final episode, but me and Lexi do travel on a plane, so I don't know if we're going to actually be able to watch it until we land. We'll have to watch it at the hotel that we're staying at, because we're actually going to Passion in Texas. Very exciting, which I'll be talking about later on in the week. But yeah, I'll be excited to see Stranger Things Season 5. Stranger Things is obviously one of the best shows of all time. It is, it's up there with Squid Games. I think people forget how big Squid Games is internationally. I know Stranger Things is big, but this one's pretty up there. So Stranger Things, a lot of fun, a lot of good times. But yeah, these last 3 episodes just kind of just, like I said, 6.8 out of 10. You're just leaving with you. It's not that you want more. It's almost like you're like, okay, I don't want more questions. I just need answers. That's all I need. But good stuff all around, and we look forward to the future. But unfortunately, we are not going to talk about the future. We're actually going to talk about the past, as at the start of every year, I make my predictions for how I think the UFC is going to go. I predict for every single weight class, all 11, who I think the champion will be on December 31st, who will have the biggest rise, and who will have the biggest fall. And we've already reviewed this a couple times this year, but not the year is officially over. It's actually almost 2026. It's 2026 in 5 freaking days. 6 if you want to be specific. But we're going to go through, look at my 11 predictions, and see how close I was on each and every one of them. So, starting us off, getting us going, the smallest weight class in the UFC, that is the women's strawweight division. Now, I said on January 1st of 2026, or even December 31st, 2025, however you want to view it like that the champion would be Zhang Weili. Now, the year started off, and Zhang Weili easily defended against Tatiana Suarez. And I was like, you know what? Dominant stuff, she's going to do well. And then Valentina defended against Manon, and we decided to have a double title fight opportunity. Now, in the past, champions got to keep their belts, but under this new UFC era, since 2024, what it really is now if you move up a weight class, or move down, up or down, usually up, to challenge for a belt, you have to vacate your title. And I was unable to take that into consideration when I made this prediction. So this happened a lot this year. We had a lot of double title fights, and I said Zhang Weili would do it, but it ended up being Mackenzie Dern. When Zhang Weili vacated her belt, Mackenzie Dern took on Virna Jandiroba, and she became the new UFC Women's Strawweight Champion. Now, is she going to lose it to Zhang Weili at the start of the year? Oh yeah. I bet you. When we make our predictions, you best bet Zhang Weili is going to be locked back in. But in terms of that prediction, missed on that, so I cannot give myself that. There's 33 total points out there, by the way. And last year, 2024, I was on fire. I think I got like 20 or 21 correct. This year, not so good. And in terms of my next prediction here, biggest rise, I said, was Jillian Robertson. She started the year ranked at number 12. She has ended the year ranked at number 10. So she's only moved up 2 spots. Now, there is a reason for this. She's only fought in once this year, fighting Marina Rodriguez. I actually think she might have retired her, honestly, if I'm thinking about that correctly. But she did have a fight scheduled with the number 5 ranked Amanda Lemos, and unfortunately that fight fell through. So it wasn't really her fault. I can't really give her that, or can't knock her for that. But in terms of who actually had the biggest rise, now as I look around, as I kind of take a glance, Lupi Godinez has worked her way up to number 6. She picked up a big win over Jessica Andrade. I could give her that. You could also mention Tabitha Ritchie. You could also talk about Fatima Klein, who debuted and just went on a tear this year, 3-0, including 2 ranked wins. But I think at the end of the day, obviously I got my prediction wrong with Jillian Robertson. She did not have the biggest rise. We got to give it to Mackenzie Dern. Mackenzie Dern opened the year fighting against Amanda Ribas, and just a throwaway Vegas, UFC Apex main event, all right? And she got the submission round number 3. Good for her. And just the whole year is kind of just on the back burner, nothing going on. And then she miraculously gets a title shot. And not only that, she defeats Virna Jandiroba and becomes new champion. So, got to give props to Mackenzie Dern. She had the biggest rise this year. Now, in terms of the Women's Rookie of the Year, got to shout out Fatima Klein. Really do. She's just an absolute killer. She's 9-1 with 5 finishes, and she had herself a fantastic year. Debuts and defeats Victoria Dudikova, then takes on Melissa Martinez and finishes her, and then takes on Angel Hill and wins a decisive victory. So, shout out to her as well. But in terms of Mackenzie Dern debuting, not debuting this year, but having 2 fights, and one of them's a main event, gets a finish. The other one is a championship opportunity and wins the belt. Got to shout out Mackenzie Dern. Now, in terms of biggest fall off, I said it would be Virna Jandiroba. I'm a Virna Jandiroba hater, but I can't. She was ranked number 3 coming into the year. She's still ranked number 3. And whenever given, a matchup, she handled it. She really did. She fought Yan Chaonin earlier this year, decisively defeated her, and then fought, Mackenzie Dern in a close championship fight. So, can't knock her for that. Now, in terms of who actually had the biggest fall off this year, got to go to Jessica Andrade. Really does. And Jessica Andrade only had 2 fights this year, but in both of them, she was just decisively beat. I mean, Jasmine Jasudavicius submitted her in under 3 minutes, and Lupi Godinez took it to her across all 3 rounds. So Jessica Andrade, massive fall off this year. I don't even know if she's going to be sticking around heading into 2026, but we'll have to see. But women's strawweight striking out 0-4-3, but honestly, not too mad about it. Next up, for the men's flyweight division, I said Alexander Pantoja would be champion heading into 2026, and son of a gun, I cannot believe we missed on it. We missed on it, and you'll never guess who we missed on yet ended up nailing on, and that's Joshua Van. As we said, Joshua Van would have the biggest rise this year. Little did I know he would go as far to have the fight of the year stick around for our awards rankings, and he would win the flyweight championship in the same year. Just a crazy year for Joshua Van. I mean, utterly insanely. He starts off the year starts off the year, coming in, takes on the undefeated Rei Chizuru from Japan, defeats him across 3 rounds, okay? Comes back in June against Bruno Silva, knocks him out in round number 3. Just an exciting fight. Makes a 3-week turnaround, and of course has the legendary fight, which we're going to talk about, with Brandon Royval to become the number 1 contender. Then, to end the year, the second last title fight of the year, Pantoja breaks his arm, breaks his elbow, however you want to look at it, and Joshua Van becomes the new men's flyweight champion. Just crazy. Just absolutely crazy. And obviously, I had him as the biggest riser. He was ranked number 15 coming to the year. And how about that? He fights an undefeated guy, so he has to defend his ranking spot coming into the new year, then fights a guy who's only ranked at like number 13, then after that takes on the number 1 contender at the time, Brandon Royval, and then miraculously defeats him in crazy fashion, and the rest is history. So Joshua Van, the year of Joshua Van, could be fighter of the year. He honestly could. He's in the conversation for Male Fighter of the Year. It's the only award I'm still torn on, so we'll talk about that later in the episode. But yeah, crazy work from Joshua Van. Now, in terms of biggest fall off, I said Amir Albazi. He was ranked at number 6 coming into the year. He's now ranked at he's ranked at number 3 coming into the year. He's now ranked at number 6. Didn't have a single fight all year. Does have a fight scheduled February 7th against Kyoichi Horiguchi. But I would love to really say he had the biggest fall off, because in all reality, he really did. He really did. It was a really rough year for him. Some may say Brandon Royval, the multiple pullouts, losing the fight. You could say that, but honestly, I might go with giving myself that. Amir Albazi was ranked at number 3. He had multiple fights he pulled out of this year. He's now ranked at number 6. Hasn't fought since November of 2024. For goodness sakes. And when I look around, there isn't really anyone else that sticks out to me. So I know this may be a reach, but I am going to give myself Amir Albazi for having the biggest fall off in the men's flyweight division. I'm going to give myself that. Now, in terms of the women's flyweight division, this was one of my craziest predictions because I picked Tatiana Suarez. And then as I was wrapping up and as I was looking at the rest of the year for the women's fight division, I changed it live on the podcast and said Valentina Shevchenko would end the year as champion. And lo and behold, fends off Mana Fiorot, fends off Zhang Weili, and she ends the year as champion. And we nail it. We absolutely nailed that prediction. Happy to see it, and I'm so glad I switched because, obviously the fight with Tatiana Suarez with, did I say Tatiana Suarez? Oh, the reason I put Tatiana Suarez is because I had my weight classes mixed up. That's why I put her name. Oh, as I look back, I realized it was just a typo error on my part. So yeah, Valentina Shevchenko ends the year as champion. I mean, I don't even know what we do with her, to be honest. I think she does have a date, coming up with the lady we're going to mention next for the biggest rise of the year. But, honestly, good year for Valentina Shevchenko. 2 title defenses, both of them all 5 rounds, both of them decisive. Now, in terms of biggest rise, we said Natalia Silva. She came in ranked at number 15. She ends the year ranked at number 2. Great year. Great year for Natalia Silva. And lo and behold, she only had 2 fights. That's right. She beats Jessica. She only had 1 fight. She fought Andrade in 2024. She only fought Alexa Grasso, and she was ranked at number 15, and she beat her, and she was ranked number 1. Crazy. Just crazy, if you ask me. A 15 versus a 1, and she comes through. Love to see it. Now, she does have a big fight booked for early 2026 on the first card of the year against Rose Namajunas, who's ranked number 6, and that does bring me to who I said would have the biggest fall for the year. That is Rose Namajunas, who was ranked at number 6 coming into the year, but I do gotta give her props. She did defeat Miranda Maverick, even landed a knockdown in the fight, so I will have to say that was wrong. Now, who actually had the biggest fall off at women's flyweight? It's tough. It really is tough because I don't really know if there was a specific one. You could say that, what's her face? I guess, Molly McCann, obviously she retired. I don't know if you can really say her. As I look around, there really isn't anyone. There really isn't anyone. I guess Tracy Cortez lost to Erin Blanchfield. Alexa Grasso lost. If anything, I might say Alexa Grasso. It's been a short fall from grace for her. It's looking more and more like she just got lucky with her submission and lucky with the split decision draw, but I don't really know. There wasn't really a big fall off at women's flyweight, so we cannot give ourselves Rose Namajunas, especially when she won this year. But shout out to us. We nailed Valentina Shevchenko and Natalia Silva. Excellent work. Now, moving into men's bantamweight division, I had Umar defeating Merab at the start of the year, and little did I know it would become the year of Merab Dvalishvili. Now, shout out to Umar. bounced back, defeated Mario Batista, got a big fight with Devson Figueiredo coming up in the new year. But yeah, crazy year for the men's bantamweight division. 3 title defenses from Merab, which does have people debating if he is fighter of the year, and he loses it at the buzzer. Final championship fight of the year as Petr Yan beats him out to end the year. So Petr Yan is your men's bantamweight champion heading into 2026, and honestly, I don't think a lot of people saw this. They really didn't. That's just because we didn't think he'd get a title shot. I honestly didn't, but he did. He earned it, got it done, and shout out to him. Honestly, shout out to our boy Petr Yan. I don't hate him whatsoever. I think I'm just more so sad that Merab might miss out on Fighter of the Year just because he lost right at the buzzer. Chasing greatness, some may say. He looked at Para getting 3 title defenses, tried to do the same, and just came up short. But one thing about Merab, 4 title fights, all of them exciting. So Petr Yan ends the year as champion, and we do miss Anumar Nurmagomedov, but I do think once he gets his next title shot, he may have it in the bag. Now, next two. Okay, this is where it gets interesting. Biggest rise, I said Peyton Talbot. Now, you got to remember, we opened the year with Peyton Talbot just getting grappled to death by Raoni Barcelos, all right? Takes half the year off, comes back in July, takes on Felipe Lima, at International Fight Week, defeats him to open the main card, then just kind of disappears. Then randomly gets booked. This is some crazy booking from the UFC to fight Henry Cejudo in his retirement fight, and he dog walks him through 3 rounds, and he ends the year ranked at number 11. So you may think, okay, he redeemed himself. He had the biggest rise of the year. But, you forget that there are actually 2 other people that we can go with. So first up, there's a man ranked above him, David Martinez. And David Martinez debuted this year. All right, debuts this year in March against Samuel Oliveira, knocks him out in round 1, then takes a short notice fight at UFC Noche against Rob Font and beats him. Rob Font, who was ranked at number 10. So David Martinez came into the year, never been in the UFC before, young gun in his early 20s, and is now ranked at number 10. So we could go with him. We also have Amin Zahabi. Now, Amin Zahabi came into the year, had himself a nice little winning streak. Here's a guy who had, he had defeated, I can't remember, someone named Rodriguez, Ricky Tercios, Algorquin, Basharat, Munoz, so 5-fight winning streak. Coming into the year, defeats Jose Aldo, retires Jose Aldo, I might add, and also defeats Marlon Vera, who, funny enough, I said would have the biggest fall-off of the year. He was ranked at number 6. He's now ranked at number 8. So the real question is, who do we give it to between those 3? And when we look at this, so David Martinez debuted this year, of course, is now ranked at number 10. Amin Zahabi defeated 2 former title challengers and a former champion in Jose Aldo and in Marlon Vera. But Peyton Talbot, and this is why I'm going to give myself this, came into the year and lost. Comes back and wins, and then ends the year retiring one of the greatest flyweight/bantamweight champions of all time in Henry Cejudo. So I'm going to give myself it for Peyton Talbot. It's a tie between those 3 boys for me. They all had great rises this year, and I'm excited to see what their 2026s hold in store for them. Now, in terms of Marlon Vera, can I give myself him for biggest fall-off? Because he only had 1 fight this year, and he lost Amin Zahabi pretty decisively too, might I add. And I just don't know. I don't know, because some may say Rob Font, he didn't have a good year. Some may also say Henry Cejudo. He obviously lost twice and retired. So some may go with that, but I'm going to give myself to Marlon Vera. He's lost all prestige. He lost his lone fight he had this year. And as of right now, he's not going to be fighting anyone in the top 10, I'm pretty sure, for the rest of his UFC career. So, and I think he also had a canceled fight with Mario Bautista, which I do want to mention. So I'm going to give myself Marlon Vera. When it's close, we got to give ourselves these points here. We really got to do it. So we're going to give ourselves Marlon Vera and Peyton Talbot for our bantamweight predictions. Now, in terms of the women's bantamweight division, we said that Kayla Harrison would be champion, and lo and behold, she is. That is right. She ends the reign of terror that is Juliana Pena and becomes champion. And funny enough, she's got a big fight with Kayla Nunes, if we combine the two. No, with Amanda Nunes starting off 2026. So exciting stuff for Kayla Harrison. 1 appearance this year and gets it done. Actually, she might have had... No, she had 1 appearance because that fight with Ketlin Vera, I believe, was at the end of 2024. That is. So, go to work from Kayla Harrison. We nailed that prediction. Now it gets into our biggest rise and fall. This is where it gets a bit tricky because the women's bantamweight division, it's kind of hard to tell. It really is. Now, I said Aileen Perez would have the biggest rise. Starts off the year going from 13 to 8. Gets ranked 8 right off rip. And then just doesn't have a single fight booked the rest of the year. She fights on the first freaking pay-per-view of the year and then does nothing since then. Now, in terms of other people who took opportunities and jumped her, Yana Santos went 2-0 this year and, is now ranked in the top 5 somehow. We also have Norma Dumont. Norma Dumont took opportunities when handed to them and actually is, in a way, many people's number 1 contender, being ranked at number 3. So I honestly don't think I can give myself Aileen Perez just yet. She may be on my list for 2026 when we do this, but in terms of for 2025, I cannot say she had the biggest rise. Got to give it to Norma Dumont or Yana Santos, as crazy as it is. Now, for biggest fall off, I said Rockwell Pennington. And what did Rockwell Pennington do? She didn't fight once this year, so she's still ranked at number 2. Now, in terms of people who actually had some bad fall offs this year, I want to say is that Byron Bueno Silva went 0-1 with actually a canceled fight against Matt Jasmine Jastovicius. So I do want to say bad stuff from her there. You kind of also had Carol Rosa win a fight. Now, Carol Rosa did defeat Nora Canole. Julia Pena had a rough year. I just don't know if I can give it to Rockwell Pennington simply because she didn't fight. I'm giving myself Amir Albazi because he dropped in the rankings, but going from 1 to 2 for literally just no reason, I just don't know if I can give myself it. So I'm not going to say Rockwell Pennington had a fall-off year. She just didn't fight. In fact, she should just retire. There's nothing more really left for her to do, but hey, I guess she's going to stick around, going to keep going, but that's what we're going to go with. Now, getting into where stuff gets crazy, because you just got to remember how crazy this year was. So, men's featherweight division, I said the year would end with Ito Pura being your men's featherweight champion, and little did I know, he would not only never lose the belt, he would go up to lightweight and win the championship. So, we're actually going to tie the welterweight division and the lightweight division in here as well, as I was unaware that Ito Pura and Islam Makhachev were both going to move up, as I had Ito Pura, Islam Makhachev both being your featherweight and lightweight champions, and I thought Shavkat Rakhmonov would eventually come back, which he still hasn't, so he is not your welterweight champion, so we miss on all 3 of those champions. Just brutal. Really brutal on my part. My bad, guys. I know it's bad on my part, but hey, how was I supposed to know Ito Pura is moving up, Islam Makhachev's moving up, and, Shavkat Rakhmonov isn't coming back? So that's bad on my part. Now, in terms of biggest rise in each division, this one gets really tricky. So one I can say immediately off the bat I didn't nail was lightweight division. Lightweight division, Joel Alvarez just decided to not fight at lightweight anymore, have a canceled fight with Benoit Saint-Denis, move up to welterweight, and have a boring fight with Svante Luque. So we miss on that. Now, in terms of the actual biggest riser for each of these weight classes, so for featherweight, I said Gene Silva. He was ranked at number 15 and ended the year ranked at number 10. But I do want to say Steve Garcia climbed the rankings, Yusuf Zalal climbed the rankings, Diego Lopez just propelled himself even more to the top, Leroy Murphy, Aljamain Sterling making a name for themselves, so I cannot give myself Gene Silva, but he did have a great year. Despite ending it with a defeat. But he is primed for a big 2026. And in terms of what I said would have the biggest downfall, I thought they were going to feed Volkanovski to Movsar Evloev, to Gene Silva, 2 guys like that. Instead, no. They give him another title fight. He defeats Diego Lopez, and he becomes champion again. So, a big miss on my part. Now, who actually had bad fall-offs in the men's featherweight division? I would say David Onama didn't have a good year. I would say that Brian Ortega had a rough year. Both of those guys not ending it with a win. But also I want to say is that Yair Rodriguez went 1-0. He defeated Patricio Pitbull, but he's in the title shot talk, and he just shouldn't be. And really, it's so funny. He's ranked number 3, went 1-0 in 2025, but people are saying he ducked Diego Lopez, ducked Gene Silva, ducked Movsar Evloev when he had a shot, and now he's calling for a title shot. So in all honesty, Yair Rodriguez has had a very big fall-off in terms of his views with the fans. Now, also in terms of biggest risers, shout out Kevin Vallejos, debuted this year, is now ranked at number 13. That's phenomenal. And people forget Patricio Pitbull debuted this year and is now ranked at number 12, so shout out to our boy. But featherweight, we go 0 for 3. 0 for 3, rough going at featherweight in terms of our, predictions there. Now, for welterweight, of course, or not welterweight, for lightweight, Ito Pura is your champion there. He moved up. We thought it would be Islam. Oh, well. Joel Alvarez ended up not fighting. In fact, you could even say he had a fall off. But who actually had the biggest rise at men's lightweight. It's tricky. It really is. It really is. But I'm going to say Paddy Pimblett. Paddy Pimblett was nowhere near a top 10 opponent heading into the year, was gifted a fight against Michael Chandler, who actually was ranked at number 7 coming into the year, is ranked at number 12, doesn't have a slated fight, and I'm going to say Michael Chandler, who I predicted would have the biggest fall-off, did have the biggest fall-off in the men's lightweight division. It was atrocious, an atrocious year for Michael Chandler. One fight booked, gets destroyed by Paddy Pimblett, who in my eyes had the biggest rise this year. I just didn't think they'd give Paddy opportunities, but instead he's fighting for the interim title against Justin Gaethje, so shout out to him. But yeah, I'm going to give myself Michael Chandler. Dude literally had one fight and got destroyed. Other than that, he's had no talks with anyone else about having a fight. Like, am I missing something? Have they updated us? No. Dude has had one fight in like the last, I don't even know. He had the Dustin Poirier fight, then he's kind of done freaking Jack Dilly squat. I mean, honestly, Michael Chandler, lock in, buddy. You've legit done nothing. You really haven't. He lost to Oliveira in 2024, and he lost to Paddy Pimblett in 2025. Now, welterweight, of course, we said Shavkat. He didn't fight. It says Makhachev. Now, for biggest rise, this one's so weird, guys. This one is so weird because welterweight is just too loaded. Welterweight is too low. I said Carlos Prates. Carlos Prates was ranked at number 13, and now he's ranked at number 6. Starts off the year losing to Ian Gary, who, by the way, is ranked at number 3 in the world. So do got to give a shout-out to Ian Gary. But Carlos Prates had 3 fights this year. Gets beat by Ian Gary, just never really unloaded the tank, was kind of just like going standby the whole fight. And then proceeds to knock out Jeff Neal and Leon Edwards in crazy fashion. So I really would love to do Carlos Prates, but I do got to shout out the number 4 ranked Michael Morales, who came into the year having just beat Neil Magny. He was kind of ranked at number 15, and he knocks out Gilbert Burns and Sean Brady, both in round number 1, both in under 4 minutes, and I truly believe he is just not on a lot of people's radar, but he's 19-0. All right, the number 3 guy, Ian Gary, he improved to 17-1, wins over Carlos Prates and Bilal Muhammad this year. Carlos Prates improved to 23-7, and in the UFC, he's 7-1 with 7 knockouts. You got to be kidding me with this guy. He's an absolute bloody legend. And then you also got to give a shout out to I don't even know, Islam Makhachev. Yeah, you give a shout out to Islam Makhachev. But also had Joaquin Buckley breaking in this year. Great stuff. He obviously lost, but still always a dog. Gabriel Bonfim breaking into the rankings, winning a main event for goodness sakes. But who had the biggest fall off? Got to be the man, and we've nailed this, who was ranked at number 1 headed into the year, Leon Edwards, and is now ranked at number 9 and was brutally finished in both of his fights this year. So we nail Leon Edwards. I'm not going to give myself Carlos Prates. He had a great rise this year. He really did, but Michael Morales and Ian Gary do have to be put ahead of him. So good job, Zach, on nailing the Leon Edwards prediction. He should just retire, dude. He really should retire. And I think the toughest thing is for me is actually going to be predicting who has the biggest fall off. Because I think I might have to pick Bilal Muhammad because in terms of everything I'm talking about, the number 1, the number 2, the number 3, the number 4, the number 6, the number 7, the number 10, 11, all at welterweight are all contenders, like rising contenders, which is just absurd to think about. So crazy stuff there, but we do nail Leon Edwards. Now, middleweight division. We said Hamzat. We said Hamzat was inevitable, and thank goodness Hamzat got the shot. Miles Driscus Duplessis. It's just how it goes. Now, who did I say was going to have the biggest rise? I said it would be Shara Magomedov, and then bro just decided to not get good opportunities. He loses to MVP. He then takes on Marc-Andre Barriouth. He then takes on, did he fight Armen Petrosyan this year? I think that was last year. I can't even remember, but yeah, Shara Magomedov did not have a good 2025. He did pick up 2 wins, but dude just didn't really do anything. And when you don't do anything, when you don't get ranked opportunities, you're not going to become the biggest riser. Now, who did? I don't know. Nazariyevov is ranked at number 2. You got Brendan Allen in at number 5 now. Brendan Allen had a really crazy year. Brendan Allen starts the year losing to Anthony Hernandez, then defeats Marvin Vittoria and Rainer de Ritter to have a big rise into the year. But I do want to say Rainer de Ritter, who's ranked at number 8, had himself an insane 2025. Debuts against Kevin Holland, then becomes the first man to defeat Bo Nickel, then has one of my favorite main events of the year against Robert Whittaker, and then, unfortunately is upset against Brendan Allen, but he had himself a great rise this year, and, the main man who I'm honestly going to give this to, has got to be Anthony Hernandez. Fight against Brendan Allen and fight against Roman Dolidze. Just won over the fans, dominated both fights, and, middleweight's in good hands for the future. Now, in terms of biggest fall off, I said there's a lot of Adesanya. He was ranked at number 2. He's now ranked at number 6. I really want to give myself this. I really want to do it. Now, I do want to know, Robert Whittaker was ranked top 5 and is now ranked at number 9, so we could say that. But Adesanya was ranked at number 2, was knocked out. He's ranked at number 6. I think I'm going to give myself a little gimme here and say Adesanya had one of the worst fall-offs of the year. And I don't even know when he's coming back, or if he's coming back. And you know what fight I want to see? Sharon Magomedov versus Israel Adesanya, because it's such a winnable fight for both guys. Let's make that happen. But yeah, we go 2 and 3 for our middleweight predictions. Not too bad there. Now, for light heavyweight, this one kind of breaks my heart. And it breaks my heart because I said Magomedov Ankalaev, and then, bro, oh my gosh, when I saw the rematch was booked, I was a little nervous, and I had good cause to be, as Magomed wins and loses the belt in the same year as Alex Pereira is again your men's light heavyweight champion. But I hear he's vacating. I hear he's leaving the light heavyweight division to go up to heavyweight. So, bro, why would you even come back? What are you going to do now? Carlos Ulberg versus Jiri Prochazka, which is absolutely fire, but it's just not what I wanted. Now, I had some hilarious predictions this year. I said the biggest rise would be Aibo Aslan. Aibo Aslan had 2 nasty knockouts in 2025. He looked to be on the rise. And then, bro, goes 0-3 and gets finished twice. That is right. Aibo Aslan having just an atrocious 2025. Now, who actually had the biggest rise this year? Do you want to give a shout out to Carlos Ulberg? Defeats Tom Blachowicz and defeats Dominic Reyes. Great year for him. Do you want to say Jiri Prochazka bounces back with 2 fight of the year contenders, 2 comeback of the year contenders? Just phenomenal work from him. But I do think the biggest rise of the year has got to go to Ozmat Mirzakhanov. When given an opportunity, he used it. 2 wins, 2 round 1 knockouts, both in under 3.5 minutes. Phenomenal work from the professional who moves to 16-0. Now, in terms of biggest fall off, I said Jamal Hill. Bro was ranked at number 3. Bro went 0-2 this year. I gotta give myself Jamal Hill, dude. I do. What a brutal year for Jamal Hill. Just being made an absolute clown of at the end of the day. He really was. Some may say Rakic, who lost to the guy we just talked about, Ozmat Mirzakhanov. Some can say Nikita Krylov. But at the end of the day, Jamal Hill was literally ranked at number 3 and went 0-2 this year in just brutal losses. So, gonna say we nailed the Jamal Hill pick, and I'm pretty happy with that. Pretty content with that prediction. Now, moving on to men's heavyweight. How did we do? We said Tommy Boy would become the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. Little did we know he never ended up fighting John Jones. Never ended up defending the belt until he did, and then it was ruled a no contest. So, Tom Aspinall, we nail your prediction, even though it was a very abysmal year for Tom Aspinall. Now, we'll see how 2026 treats him, but as of right now, his stock is kind of at an all-time low. Now, for biggest rise of the year, I said it would be Mick Parkin, and Mick Parkin decided to have 1 close decision loss to Marcin Tybura in March, and just nothing else the rest of the year. So Mick Parkin did not have a big rise, but I'll tell you who did. Waldo Cortez Acosta. Shout out to Waldo, one of the best fighters of 2025. He's now ranked at number 5 in the world. Good job to Waldo Cortez Acosta. Also want to shout out Shamil Gaziev. He was looking pretty good this year. Then he got knocked out, so there was some potential. Same for Ante Delege, who debuted with a knockout, then got knocked out. And I do want to shout out our boy, Walter Walker. 3 wins, 3 heel hooks, 3 round 1 submissions. Don't get much better than that. Now, in terms of biggest fall off, I said Curtis Blades. He was ranked at number 5. Dude ended up having 1 fight against Rizvan Kuniev. What a split decision. Yeah, we did not nail that at all. Curtis Blades is currently ranked at number 4. No idea what bro's doing, but yeah, he did not have a bad fall off this year at all. I'll tell you who did. I'll tell you who had a really bad fall off this year, and that was Tom Aspinall. Really was. Dude just came in cocky and confident as ever. Of course, everyone's saying John Jones ducked him. And then in his fight against Shogun, he didn't look like the world beater he was. And it's because he hadn't fought in over a year and a half. It really was. And it showed. And people are calling him a clown now. People are calling him like One-Eye Aspinall. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. Kind of unfortunate for him. So at the end of the day, Tom Aspinall really had a bad fall off this year. He really did. Other than that, there really wasn't anyone. There really wasn't anyone who had a rough 2025 besides Tom Aspinall. Some may say Marcin Tybura, he got knocked out. Some may say Tai Tuivasa couldn't get a fight in, but, I think it is what it is. I think at the end of the day, your champion is kind of at an all-time low. And when I look at every champion heading into the new year, Kayla Harrison has some high momentum. Valentina Shevchenko has some momentum. Mackenzie Dern, people are just going to see how long it is until Zhang Weili murders her. Tom Aspinall, 0 momentum. Alex Pereira, I think we all assume he's going to vacate the belt, so we're just going to have to reset the division. Khamzat has mixed emotions. I think he looks dominant. Some people are saying he's looking a bit boring. Islam looks dominant. Ito Topura looks dominant, although he's dealing with personal issues, so isn't fighting. Volkanovski has a killer's row ahead of him. Diego Lopez, Mosvar Evlov, Leon Murphy. Pirdian has all the momentum in the world. And Joshua Van has just been given the cards he's been dealt and is your champion. And I think he's going to be fighting Manel Kape or Tetsuo Taira soon, which I think is going to be fantastic. But in terms of my predictions, of the 33 predictions we made on the year, we nailed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. So we fall below 50%. Nowhere near as good as 2024. I wish I would have saved that sheet of paper. I really did, because it wasn't too. We did pretty good last year, but this year there's a lot of uncertainties. I guess this year, when I really make my predictions, I'm gonna have to look in depth and see if I can really tell who's going to be moving up in weight, who's moving down, what's going to happen. But you know what? I'm honestly not too bad. Or not too mad. Not too mad with my predictions is what I'm trying to say. So, good stuff all around. 2025 was a spectacular year for the UFC, and I'm very excited to see what they bring heading into 2026, which brings us to the last thing we're going to talk about on today's episode, and that is your 2025 UFC Awards, your Surprise Jab Podcast Awards. Another year Awards League out. We have 9 categories. We have 9 categories this year, so get out your bingo sheet, see if we have the same predictions here on what I have for being, event of the year, fighter of the year, fight of the year. So, without further ado, let's dive into our 9 categories and give out your official Surprise Jab Podcast 2025 UFC Awards. This year we have, of course, 9 awards, and those are going to be your Male Fighter of the Year, Female Fighter of the Year, Event of the Year, Fight of the Year, Comeback Fight of the Year, Knockout of the Year, Submission of the Year, Rookie of the Year, and Bounce Back Fighter of the Year, which essentially means that you had a much better 2025 than your 2024 treated you. And the comeback fight, of course, is if you were down in a fight and you came back and won. That would be a comeback fight. So we're going to go top to bottom, and starting us off, first award ready to give out is your Rookie of the Year. Now, Rookie of the Year, last year was pretty easy. Carlos Prates, he was a lock. It was easy to go with him. But for this year, for every category, I kind of identified 5 different fights, 5 different fighters per category to go over. So your first rookie that we do got to give a shout out to is to Kevin Vallejos. That is right. Kevin Vallejos, of course, broke into the rankings on the final event of the year. Debuted in March, coming off of the Contender Series. His only professional defeat is to Gene Silva, who is, of course, ranked number 10 at men's featherweight. Knocked out Sungwoo Choi at UFC Apex 104. Then knocked out Danny Silva. Actually, he went the distance with Danny Silva at UFC Vegas 108. And then knocked out Giga Chikadze with the spinning back fist to end the year on December 13th of 2025. Great year for Kevin Vallejos. Flew very under the radar, I will say. He wasn't on a lot of people's radar for being, the top guy, the next big thing. And, he kind of surprised everyone and came in and 2 big knockouts and being ranked number 13th. That's worthy of being in consideration for Rookie of the Year. Also got to shout out the man Bosinger Susurkayev. Bosinger Susurkayev, maybe like, who in the world is Bosinger Susurkayev? And this guy comes in off the Contender Series on August 12th of 2025. This year, 3-minute knockout. Debuts 4 days later at UFC 319, gets a round 2 submission of Eric Nolan, then comes back November 15th, knocks out Eric McConaughey in one of the best knockouts of the year. He's 11-0. 10 career finishes. This kid is insane, and he's just so fresh. He's so fresh, and the fact that he was able to almost win Rookie of the Year in a 4-month span is just simply ridiculous. So shout out to Bosinger Susurkayev. I know for a fact he is going to be in for a absolutely massive 2026, and he's on the verge of the rankings. I'm kidding you not. He's 24, and they already want to push this guy to the moon. Also, got to give a shout out to David Martinez. David Martinez debuted in March of 2025 with a round 1 knockout of Salmon Oliveira. He would then not fight the entire year until he takes a short notice fight against Rob Font at UFC Noche and wins a unanimous decision. Insane. Going from literally nowhere near the rankings to rank number 10 in the UFC. Incredible. 2 fights, ranked number 10. Got to give a massive shout out to David Martinez. And the final shout out that we have to give, who was in the running for Rookie of the Year, is Ateba, the Silent Assassin Gaudier, coming in off of Season 8 of the Contender Series, debuted in March, 3.5-minute knockout of Jose Daniel Medina. Returns in July at UFC 318, minute 10-second knockout of Robert Valentine. And then how about ending his year at UFC 320, October 4th, a minute and 41-second knockout of Treston Vines. All of his opponents, for some reason, feel the need to do the come on, bring it on motion with their hands, and he just knocks them out cold. This kid is only 23 years old. He is literally as old as me, and he is out here knocking people out in the UFC. So excited to see what he does in 2026. Already has a fight booked for January 24th. So pumped to see what Ateba Gaudier does. But there can only be one Rookie of the Year, and this one was tough. Like I said, a lot of options, a lot of different people we could potentially go with, but there is one. And we have identified him as Quinlan Sakiad. That is right, Quinlan Sakiad getting the nod. 3-0 this year. Debuted at UFC 312 February 8th with a 19-second knockout of Anshel Jubilee. Legit clipped him once, sending his head right to the mat. That was it. Returns in June and puts on a grappling spree. Okay, 8 of 23 on takedowns against Yanal Ashmovs. Dominates him, actually becoming the second person ever to defeat him. Very impressive, but then what sealed the deal, what was the icing on the cake, was his knockout of the year contender against Nasrat Haqpasaran. Insane, 2.5 minutes. Literally clips him in the head, and he just falls to the ground. Just the entire emotion, the entire celebration. This guy's going crazy on the gram with his post now. Absolutely love Quinlan Sakiad. I had to give him the nod. He actually has a massive fight booked for UFC 325 against Rong Zhu. I mean, he's been linked, if he wins this, to a fight with Beneil Dariush. This guy is being pushed to the moon, and I had to give him the nod. And yeah, I know Vallejos is ranked, Dave Martinez is ranked, but with Sakiad, having 2 knockout of the year contenders is just so hard to top. Phenomenal. 3-0. Massive shout out to our Rookie of the Year, Quinlan Sakiad. But like I said, every other guy I mentioned, absolutely excellent, but I'm going to give the nod to Quinlan Sakiad. Now, in terms of Rookies of the Year, these were the ones that were new to the UFC. For our Bounce Back Fighter of the Year, these are guys who have been in the UFC already, and some guys have had a tough going, and this was a great bounce back year for them. So, starting us off, giving a little shout out here to Sergey Pavlovich. Sergey Pavlovich had a rough going. He had a rough going. 2023 is knocked out by Tom Aspinall. Last year in 2024 had 1 fight against Alexander Volkov and he just didn't do nothing. Just didn't show up. It looked embarrassing, and it was not a good showing. But then in February, takes on Junior Rosenstruck, mixes in the grappling. Not an impressive performance, but gets the win. And then August 2025 in Shanghai, takes on Waldo Cortez Acosta. And after the year, Waldo had 5 fights. The only man to beat him has to be in consideration for bounce back fighters. So after going 0-2 over the last 2 years, he is able to pick up 2 victories this year. And Sergey Pavlovich is still in the top 3 at men's heavyweight at number 3, so do have to give him a shout out for Comeback Fighter of the Year. Also got to give a massive shout out to someone who I was very thankful to see get victories this year in Edmund Shabazian. Edmund Shabazian, went 1-1 in 2024, 0-1 in 2023, 1-0 in 2022, and also a little 0-3 span from 2020 to 2021. So coming into 2025, he was 2-5. And he had been finished in his last fight in August 2024, and it wasn't looking good. And what does he do? UFC Vegas 102, knocks out Dylan Buka in a minute and 35 seconds. UFC Atlanta defeats Andre Petrosky decisively. And then UFC 320, October 4th, with 2 seconds left, knocks out Andre Muniz, 3-0 in 2025. What a bounce back year for Edmund Shabazian. So happy for the kid. Really am. And he's coming in, 28 years old, looking to really amp it up in 2026. Excited to see what he does. Great year from him in the running for Bounce Back Fighter of the Year. Another shout out to a man who, how he started the year and how he ended it, complete polar opposites, Jimmy Crute. Now, if you know about Jimmy Crute, This guy was a menace, all right? From 2018 to 2020, went 4-1, all round one finishes, all just phenomenal. Then April 2021, injures himself against Anthony Smith, resulting in a TKO loss. Then knocked out in 48 seconds by Jamal Hill. Takes a year and a half off, comes back February 2023, draw against Alonzo Menifield. Waits 5 months, they rematch, he submits him, all right? Takes 2 years off from 2023, comes back earlier the year in 2025, after dominating Rodolfo Bellato in round number 1, drops the last 2 to result in the majority decision draw. And everyone's kind of like, dude, he hasn't won in his last 5 fights. What's he going to do? July 2025, submits Marcin Pachinio in 4 minutes and 42 seconds. Then, September 2025, in Perth, finishes Ivan Erslan with a round 1 rear naked chokehold. What a great bounce back year for Jimmy Crute. He has a big fight lined up with Dustin Jacoby for UFC 325 to end out January. Super happy for him. A great year for him. 2-0, 2 finishes. And you know what? That one draw was actually a decently entertaining fight. And then the last honorable mention, we do have to shout out, didn't have a fight in the UFC in 2024. Funny enough, the last fight in the UFC for him was 2022. But Kyle Daukaus was cut from the UFC after going 0-2 in 2022, getting finished in both of his losses. In terms of his entire UFC run from 2020 to 2022, he went 2-4 with a no contest and just never really looked hot. But he left the UFC. He went to other promotions. He became the champion in a lower promotion and came back on short notice in August to knock out Michel Pereira in 43 seconds. He would then turn around in November at UFC 322 and submit Gerald Meerschaert in 50 seconds. Just a great way to end the year for Kyle Daukaus. I think he went 4-0 on the year as well in terms of his entire MMA career. Absolutely amazing bounce back year for Kyle Daukaus, making it back to the UFC, and he's legit now. 17-4. When he left the UFC, he was 12-4. I mean, just think about that. 12-4 when you leave the UFC. Pick up a number of wins. Now you're red hot, and I'm so excited to see what the new year brings him. But there was one answer, and it wasn't obvious for a while, and then I come across this name when we're doing our end of the year review, and I go, yeah, this is just a runaway. Doesn't get much more of a runaway than this. Benoit Saint Denis easily taking the victory here for comeback fighter of the year. You're currently 11th ranked UFC lightweight. Had himself a pretty crazy UFC year in 2024. Co-main event at UFC 299, a fight of the night against Dustin Poirier, is knocked out halfway through round number 2. Comes back in September of 2024 to take on Renan Moicano in Paris and gets utterly destroyed. Now, he did win round 2, but fight was stopped due to an injury. Takes, about 9 months off, comes back May of 2025, was supposed to take on Joel Alvarez, instead takes on the hometown guy and Kyle Propalik, who he submits in round number 2, but shouldn't have taken him that long. People are starting to doubt this guy. Comes back in Paris. UFC Fight Night Imavov versus Barral, September 6th, submits Mauricio Ruffy, who was being primed for Fighter of the Year, had an amazing knockout of Bobby King Green. They wanted to speedrun him up the rankings, and what does Benoit do? Exposes he has no grappling and submits him in round number 2. Returns in November, UFC 322, to open the main card against Benoit Saint Denis. Not Benoit Saint Denis, Beneil Dariush. They're going at it. Of course, I've said it a million times. He gets leg kick. He slips down. Beneil goes to grab him to the clinch. 1, 2, 3 punches, and Beneil Dariush is face planted against the mat. Just insane. 3 wins, 3 finishes, including a 16-second performance of the night knockout to end his 2025. Benoit Saint Denis is easily your comeback fighter of the year. So exciting. So exciting. Felt so good for him. He's one of my favorite fighters. And guess what? They're skyrocketing him to the top. Has a matchup with the number 6 ranked Dan Hooker, co-main event UFC 325 to end out January 2026. So Benoit Saint Denis, absolutely love this guy. 16 career wins, 16 career finishes, and he's just dialing it up, man. Just dialing it up. Great work for Benoit. What a bounce back year. Truly, everyone had written him off. I was nervous against Mauricio Ruffy, but as for Propalik and Dariush, I knew this boy wasn't going to lose. And in terms of the Dan Hooker fight, I feel great confidence going into that one. So, your comeback fighter of the year, bounce back fighter of the year, however you want to put it, is Benoit Saint Denis. Now, along those lines, we also have a comeback fight of the year. So a comeback fighter had a rough 2024, and they bounced back in 2025. Now, a comeback fight is an actual fight that took place in 2025, where the fighter was losing and managed to come back and win. Now, this one was tough. I found so many. So I'm just going to go with the 5 I chose. There was a lot. There were so many, but here are the 5 I selected. I did choose one. Now, was there a bit of bias in it? Yes, but first up, we're going to give our shout-outs here. All right? We got on the very first card of the year, you had the, oh my gosh, I cannot remember, Abdul Razak Al Hassan. I'm forgetting his name. I'm completely forgetting his name. Here we go. Abdul Razak Al Hassan taking on Cesar Almeida. The fight lasted 4 minutes and 16 seconds. Just to give you a perception of how freaking nuts this fight was. But Cesar Almeida comes out, gets dropped by Abdul Razak Al Hassan. All right, Abdul is literally in just full guard, just laying on him, punching. They get back to the feet. He's rocking him, bouncing his face just up against the cage, moving him backwards. Then they start throwing, and he leaves his chin open, and Cesar clips him with a hook, and literally, right as the punch connected, goes slumped, arm goes straight, falls backwards. It was the KO of the year for, I'd say, the first 3 months of the year. Just utterly insane. Utterly insane. And to have a comeback of the year, comeback fight of the year nominee in a 4 minute and 16-second fight just shows how crazy it was. I mean, truly just amazing, truly phenomenal. What was going to top this? I don't know. How about a even shorter comeback of the year nominee? Now, this one, Ibo Aslan versus Iwan Baranowski. All right, and Iwan Baranowski coming in off of the Contender Series. He was brand new. He had himself a fresh sub 20-second. For some reason, the fighters are not showing up here for Ibo Aslan. I don't know what is going on here. Ibo, where are you at? Oh, I'm in events and fighters. Oh, that's why I'm in the wrong freaking category here. Here we go. Ibo Aslan, Iwo Baranowski. Fight lasted 1 minute and 29 seconds. Starting off the fight, we're going at it. Iwo drops Ibo. You're like, oh my gosh, Baranowski has dropped Aslan. This is game over. And then he gets back to his feet, and Aslan drops Baranowski, and his face just crashes to the canvas, starts eating more punches. They get back up. They're swinging back and forth. Who's going to go down? Baranowski clips Aslan. He falls right on his butt, starts eating some punches to the face. Lights go out. Insane. I did. It was crazy. Craziest minute and 29-second fight. If you want to show a buddy of yours a quick fight, minute and 29 seconds, a recent fight to get them into the UFC, show them this fight. This is phenomenal. This is one of my favorite fights of the year, and it only lasted 89 seconds. Doesn't get much better than that. And then, other fights we had, Mario Pinto and Austin Lane. Now, this one, very odd, very under the radar. Not a lot of my people know about this, but we're looking at UFC Vegas 103, random Apex card. Austin Lane is destroying Mario Pinto in round number 1. Knocks him down, has him up against the cage, is laying into him. No idea how Mario Pinto survives. We head to round 2. Austin Lane is laid on him, landing more 7 strikes. Mario Pinto just unloads a hook from out of nowhere, clips Austin Lane, literally right as he clips him, legs fall down like a tree being chopped down, and it's game over. Mario Pinto, what a beautiful knockout. I mean, this had me fired up. Let me just tell you, I was going absolutely bananas when this took place, and I was even more happy because I picked Mario Pinto. Now, Mario had himself a pretty interesting year. After this, was able to knock out Renato Diaz in Brazil, so 2-0 year for him. Got to throw him in the Rookie of the Year rankings. I mean, let's get this guy in the heavyweight rankings. But phenomenal work here. Great comeback, earned a performance bonus. And the best part, it was 39 seconds into round number 2. And those knockouts that always happen in the first minute of round 2 are almost more shocking than the round 1 knockouts because you're just never expecting them. So great comeback fight here. Thought Mario was getting knocked out in round 1, and he bounced back to get the round 2 knockout. And then we got to show some love to the ladies. We really do. And this one I was going to give it to, had I, depending on how the year would have ended for these ladies. But we're going to UFC London. We're going to Shauna Bannon versus Pooja Tamar. This is an early fight on the prelims. Very underground if you're not aware of it. Round 1, back and forth. Shauna Bannon outstrikes her 36-23. Shauna Bannon is winning. Okay? We go to round 2. Pooja Tamar hits her with such a nasty head kick that when I saw it happen, I literally turned off the TV and said, I just watched the fighter I pick get knocked out. I mean, I kid you not, gets knocked out, falls down, and is eating punches directly to the face. Little did I know, Lucas Bazaki had no desire to stop this fight. It continues. By some miracle, Shauna Bannon, while getting TKO'd, is able to lock up an armbar from bottom guard and submits Pooja Tomar. I mean, this is nuts. This is nuts. You ain't got to watch round 1. You don't gotta. But watch the 3 minutes and 22 seconds round number 2. You'll literally go, how did Shauna Bannon not get knocked out? How did the ref not stop this? And how did she rally to get the submission? So whenever you go, women's fights are boring, there's hidden gems like this, which are just incredible to watch, all right? Pooja Tomar thought she had this in the bank. Beautiful head kick, only to get armbarred while going for the ground and pound TKO. So amazing work there. Shout out to Shauna Bannon for pulling off the victory, and she comes in at number 4 on our comeback fight of the year. But there can only be one. There can only be one, ladies and gentlemen, and it goes to my main man. He had a good year. 2 round 3 knockouts, and this one was one of my favorite comebacks of the year as Jiri Prochazka defeats Khalil Rountree Jr. Now, it makes this better. As through the first 2 rounds, Jiri just isn't like uncorking it. Sometimes, he uncorks in round 2, but he didn't. And Khalil outstrikes him in round 1, 15-12. Outstrikes him in round 2, 24-12. And went to round 3, and your boy Jiri Prochazka is down. He's only landed 24 significant strikes. His opponent has landed 39. He's going to need a knockout here, or he's going to lose. And what does Jiri decide to do? He decides to uncork just a barrage. I mean, Khalil Rountree's face looked like Play-Doh, red Play-Doh just being mashed around. It was bloody, it was gory, and I absolutely loved it. And the finishing sequence, he gets Khalil on the back foot. Khalil's up against the cage. Jiri's swinging, and then he lands a hook coming from up top. Actually, it was coming from below. Clips him on the chin, and Khalil literally just falls like a corpse, lifeless to the mat. Jiri Prochazka, performance of the night with only 2 minutes left, gets the comeback knockout. Comeback fight of the year. Easily comeback fight of the year. I mean, literally down and gets the knockout with 2 minutes left. Now, I still think the greatest comeback of all time. You're going to hear a lot of people say this. I think it's Leon Edwards. I think now the reason I have Leon Edwards over the Anderson Silva, over the Yair Rodriguez, over like a fight like this, for example, and I'm just sharing this for no information, is that kick literally saved Leon Edwards' career. That head kick not only won him the welterweight championship, it saved his career. And in terms of Jiri Prochazka, a loss here would not have been good for him. And what did a win here do? With 2 minutes left, a comeback fight of the year winner for our award show get him. He's now tied with Magomed Ankalaev for the number 1 ranked fighter at light heavyweight. I was going to say welterweight for some reason, but no, light heavyweight. And yeah, he's probably fighting next for the belt against Carlos Ulberg. So amazing work from Jiri Prochazka. Went 2-0 in 2025. Like I said, it's him, Paddy Pimblett, Benoit Saint Denis, Charles Oliveira, a lot of my favorite fighters, and Jiri's up there. So he's going to win comeback fight of the year. Jiri Prochazka versus Khalil Rountree Jr. at UFC 320. Absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Great work in this one. And speaking of UFC 320, there's a lot of good events every year. But there can only be one event of the year. Now, on the next episode, or maybe not the next one, but in the next 2, we're going to rank every single fight night, and we're also going to rank every single UFC pay-per-view of the year. But out of all of them collectively, what was the event of the year? One may wonder. Some may be wondering, what was the event of the year? And let me tell you, this one was tough. We had a lot of good ones, but the one I chose, I think it's just, I watched the whole thing. I watched almost every single UFC event in full, but this one, it didn't necessarily end phenomenally, but it was still good. So going through the 4 alternatives, I'm just going to let you know, I picked a fight night as my event of the year, but I do want to shout out the 4 pay-per-views, which came in 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. So our first, honoree, if you will, is going to be the first event of the year, UFC 311. And the one thing I love about this is that never do you really see, I'm talking 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, rarely do you see the first UFC pay-per-view of the year hold up against the rest of them. And UFC 311 is just so much fun. And, we open up the card, 5 straight decisions. Kind of boring. Then Bogdan Guskov gets us going with a submission. Ozma Bekov gets us with a knockout. And we head to the main card coming off of a boring Raoni Barcelos Peyton Talbot fight. But then the main card goes 5-4-5. Rainier Day Ritter submits Kevin Holland. Halton Almeida, TKO Sergey Pavlovich. Just if you want an entertaining grappling fight, if you want to watch one in full, Movsar Evloev versus Aljamain Sterling at UFC, I want to say it was 310. And you also have Halton Almeida versus Sergey Spivak. Such a fun fight there. After that, Jiri Prochazka versus Jamal Hill. If you hate Jamal Hill, if you love Jiri Prochazka like me, this is the fight for you. And then, fight of the night, I'm not going to spoil, I think, might be my favorite title fight of the year, Merab Dvalishvili versus Umar Nurmagomedov, and then Islam Makhachev dominates Nato Moicano in round number 1. UFC 311, such a fun event, had its flaws in the prelims, but the main card goes 5 for 5, which is just so rare nowadays. Your second honorary fighter of the year, not fighter of the year, fight night of the year, pay-per-view, I should say, event of the year, better put, is UFC 314 in Miami, Florida. So much fun. Open up the card. 4 of the first 5 fights are finishes, including the knockouts from Marco Tulio, Michael Kajacek, and Julian Erosa. Oh, so nasty. Chase Hooper dominating Jim Miller was sadly entertaining. Rip Jim Miller. Dino Jandidoba and Yanchonin was a dud, but Dan Ige, Sean Woodson could be up there for comeback of the year. Dan Ige was down 2 rounds and just casually knocks out Sean a minute and 12 seconds in. We go to the main card. Dominic Reyes, 2-minute, 24-second knockout of Nikita Krylov, which literally looks like bar for bar the McGregor-Aldo knockout. I kid you not. Then one of the best grudge matches of the year, period. Gene Silva, Bryce Mitchell. Great submission win for Gene Silva. Only dud on the main card, Yair Rodriguez versus Patricio Pitbull. Just boring all the way around. But how do we end the night? Patty Pimblett, Michael Chandler, and Alexander Volkanovski, Diego Lopez. Just 2 fun wars, bloody, brilliant, great moments, and his card top to bottom was just fantastic. Just really the pacing of everything was really good. And like I said, we only had 4 decisions, and maybe 3 of them kind of sucked, but it outdoes the rest of the card, outshines it. So shout out to UFC 314. We actually have had Zeke Clark on before, and he was actually at this event. That episode is great if you want to listen to it. It was actually our predictions for UFC 306, but the audio was kind of whack because my neighbors were revving their motorcycles, and we recorded it in my garage. So still do encourage you guys to go listen to that. It was probably in the maybe in the 100s or something. I can't even remember. It's been so long. We've recorded so many episodes. But he was in attendance at this event, and he said it was easily one of his favorite events of all time, which, by looking at it, I can't blame him. Another honorary fight event we have to shout out for you guys is UFC 317. International Fight Week. It was so much fun. Jacoby Smith dominating Nico Price. Terrence McKinney's 55-second finish of Vyacheslav Borshev. Jose Delgado's 26-second knockout. The knockout from Gregory Rodriguez was crazy. Peyton Talbot bouncing back. Beneil Dariush kind of having a mini comeback against Renato Moicano. And then the final 3 fights to end the year. Joshua Van, Brandon Royval. We're going to speak about that in just a second, but just know there's a reason that it helped this card but be as good as it was. Pantoja defending his belt again against Kai France. And then, we're going to mention this again, Ian Topuria knocking out Charles Oliveira. Just the icing on the cake. International Fight Week, UFC 317 was so much fun. And then the final honorary pay-per-view, funny enough, because there's no fight nights here, was UFC 320. Just amazing. Just amazing. And, the prelims, kind of whatever. Raheem Brahmaj, Austin Vanderford, decently fun fight. Emin Shabazian knocking out Andre Muniz was fun. Daniel Santos and Teba Gaudier getting knockouts. But then we get to the main card. And the main card, similar to UFC 311, went 5-4-5. Joe Pyfer submits Abus Magomedov after almost knocking him out. Yusuf Zalal submits Josh Emmett in the easiest workings I've ever seen someone beat Josh Emmett. The easiest fight of all time. Like I said, Jiri Khalil, literally one comeback fight of the year. Merab versus Corey Sandhagen. If you want to watch a fun mauling, watch Corey Sandhagen versus Merab Dvalishvili. And then how about Poatan Alex Pereira winning back his belt in 70 seconds? Doesn't get much better than that. So, UFC 320, so much fun. UFC 317, so much fun. 314, 311, all good. But my event of the year, and this one may shock you because some of you may go, oh, there's no way. There's no way a fight night could win it, but I kid you not. I don't know if it was the crowd. I don't know if it was the fact that out of the 13 fights on this card, only 2 didn't go the distance. But my event of the year is UFC Fight Night, Imavov versus Baralo, otherwise known as UFC Paris. Guys, this event was so fun to watch. It was so much fun. Such a good time. This is when I was unemployed, by the way. I didn't have a job. I sat at home all day, and what was I going to do on this lovely Saturday? Well, I was going to get up early and watch a little UFC. And that's exactly what I did. Kick off the card, Sam Hughes submits Sean O'Bannon. Then Renat Fakhretdinov knocks out Andres Gustafsson in 54 seconds. Then Robert Brzeziak gets his first UFC win and knockout, finishing Brad Tavares by knockout. Sam Patterson gets another round 1 finish. Then Cal Fernandez kills the legs of Harry Hardwick to a round 1 TKO. Ante Delege's UFC debut goes fantastic as he knocks out Marcin Tybura in 2 minutes, and then Omar Sy bounces back from his first career loss to Alonzo Metafield by TKOing Brenson Ribeiro in 4 minutes and 42 seconds. First decision of the night, William Gomez, Robert Ruchala was an absolute war. Thought it would end at multiple moments. That was okay. We move along. Axel Sola destroys Rise McKee. Round 3 knockout for him. Then Mason Jones, Bellagio Key. It's so good. It's so good. And really, I really probably should have included this in my comeback fight of the year, but I kind of just, wanted to include it on this UFC Paris card. But Mason Jones versus Bellagio Key is a fight that is 8 minutes and 18 seconds. It is so crazy that Mason Jones was able to survive almost being knocked out by Bellagio Key, was literally on the bottom in full top mount, getting his brains bashed in. There's a hilarious clip of Aiden Ross online if you want to watch. He bet on Bellagio Key, and he said it was rigged because Mason Jones made the comeback. But I mean, just phenomenal. Then Modestas Bukauskas retires Paul Craig in just violent fashion. Not even fun to watch. I mean, Modestas Bukauskas literally murders Paul Craig with elbows. Co-main event, Benoit Saint-Denis, Mauricio Ruffi, as we've already mentioned. And the main event, Imavov, Cabarallo. It was competitive. Wasn't a big finish, but the guy from the hometown guy, the Paris guy won, and the crowd was going ballistic. So your event of the year is UFC Paris in my eyes. It is just so much fun, and all the finishes made it 10 times better. Go watch a lot of the highlights. Go to the UFC's page and watch all the finishers from UFC Paris. They have a video on that. Just shows you how fun the entire card was. But in terms of good fights, there can only be one fight of the year. And fight of the year is always tough. It's always tough. We watch a lot of fights. There's a lot of good ones. So the ones that I've selected, some may be obvious, some might not be obvious, but they're the ones that I have selected. So these are the 5 we have gone with. First up, we got to shout out the man who was on here twice, Merab Dvalishvili. Just crazy. Just crazy. Of the 4 fights he had this year, by the way, all 4 entertaining, 2 of them, one fight of the night, and 2 of them are on this freaking list. I kid you guys not. First up, Merab versus Umar Nurmagomedov might be my favorite title fight of the year. Just crazy. If you don't know this, Merab lost the first 2 rounds to Umar. Close rounds, but lost them. He then fights back to win the final 3, and then the third one is literally just toying with Umar Nurmagomedov. And the best part, Umar is fighting until his very last breath. He is gassed out as can be and is just going to war, all right? 9 takedowns combined between the both of them. Only 3 minutes and 57 seconds. Scratch that, 59 seconds of total control time between the 2. Just nuts. You had some moments where I thought each man was going to land the knockout. I mean, Merab went 7 of 30 on takedowns. Umar went 2 of 15. This was just insane. It's just 2 guys fighting until the very last breath, and one of the best grappling matchups I've ever seen. This was so good, so fun, easily up there for fight of the year. Along those same lines, the final title fight of the year, Merab and Petr Yan. They just both wanted it. They both wanted it, and what makes this one so good is Petr Yan I just clearly spent everything he had studying Merab. All right, and was it a pretty win? Absolutely not. He had to defend 27 takedowns. He had to land 5 takedowns on his own, not even getting to 3 minutes of control time. He had to throw 251 total strikes and absorb 196 from Merab, and he became your new bantamweight champion. Just amazing. Just such a good war, and it's a good one. It's a popular one, but it's amazing. Now, 2 fights you guys might not be aware of that were just utterly insane. We're going to UFC Baku. We got Nazim Sadikov taking on Nicholas Moda, and this is just insane. I showed my parents this, and they were going nuts, all right? Round 1. Nicholas Moda decapitates Nazim Sadikov. I mean, like, literally, the announcers are begging Lucas Brzezicki. I can't believe I've mentioned it. Something about Lucas Brzezicki not stopping fights early makes these so much better. But he, I have no idea Nazim Sadikov survived round number 1, and better yet, makes it to round number 2. But there's literally a moment where these 2 are just standing in front of each other, just bashing each other in the head. Nazim Sadikov is really having to do like a Rocky dodge in the corner, a little Muhammad Ali dodge. Nicholas Moda is just throwing so hard. This is the best I've ever seen Nicholas Moda look, and just a war. Fight of the night, performance of the night. This was phenomenal. I mean, this was great. This was great. This could even be on comeback fight of the year. I kid you guys not. This was phenomenal. And you just got to watch it to believe me. It is bloody. It is brilliant. And Nazim Sadikov, just an absolute warrior, surviving the fists of iron Nicholas Moda. Shout out to these two. Then, my favorite underground one. And this one I've just remembered all year. I mean, Cody Steele making his debut at UFC 312 against none other than Rong Zhu. And the best part is, like, this is the only highlight of UFC 312. It really is. But this is 3 rounds of 2 just unranked bantamweights just going to war. Just throwing the kitchen sink at each other. I mean, 125 significant strikes of 59, just submission attempts, reversals, just every shot is meant to finish you. And I was watching this with all my boys in college, and they're like, oh, dude, this is the early prelims, who cares? And by the third round, we were just jumping around, going nuts. This is a fight you have got to check out if you're a hardcore fan and you haven't seen. Rong Zhu versus Cody Steele on the prelims of UFC 312. It's a war. It's a war, and to make it better, Rong Zhu won, and I was rooting for him. But I was a little nervous because Cody Steele was just hitting him with so many hard shots. Like, there's many moments where Rong Zhu's like wobbled, almost slipping, and then he's firing back his own shot, then Cody's wobbling. It is a war. It's amazing. It's good. And I hate to break everyone's hearts, but it's not the winner. The winner, it's the obvious pick, but sometimes there's a reason it's the obvious pick, and that is because Joshua Van versus Brandon Royval is just simply amazing. It's hard to top. It is, it's brilliant. It really is brilliant. And, the best part about this is it was supposed to be Manel Cape. It was supposed to be Manel Cape versus Brandon Royval, and instead it ended up being Joshua Van, the king of the short notice fights, and he comes in and just puts on a war. I mean, round 1, 52 significant strikes to 42 in favor of Joshua Van. Round 1 goes to Van. Round 2, 87 significant strikes, 74. Round 2 goes to Brandon Royval. This is a round apiece fight going into round number 3 for a freaking title shot. We go to round 3, 86 significant strikes to 78 in favor of Brandon Royval. Neither man once attempted a takedown. They just stood in front of each other and just threw until they couldn't throw no more. And how's the round end? How's the fight end? Joshua Van dropping Brandon Royval. Just amazing. Just phenomenal. Easily your fight of the year. And if I can't give Joshua Van fighter of the year, I got to at least give him fight of the year, because these two fought like this was a championship opportunity on the line, because there was. Just amazing. Just amazing. Joshua Van, Brandon Royval, it is a gem of the year. 2025 was one of the best years for the UFC that I've ever watched, and truly this was an example of why it is. Joshua Van, Brandon Royval, your 2025 fight of the year in the UFC. And while that fight didn't end in a knockout, we do have some knockouts and submissions of the year. So we're actually going to go with submission first, because people love knockouts more than submissions. But we do have a lot of entries for submission of the year. And this one's going to shock you guys, just because of how, out of place it is. But, if we do have to choose 5, I do want to, just throw out some honorable mentions to Kayla Harrison and to Arman Tsarukyan, both getting nice submissions in round number 2. Arman to become number 1 contender and Kayla to win the belt. So shout out to them. But now I will actually give you the other 4 and then my victors. So first up, Merab Dvalishvili and Sugar Sean O'Malley at UFC 316 in the main event. The reason this wins is because it was at the end of round 3, out of nowhere. Merab doesn't get finishes. Merab just doesn't get finishes. And not only does he finish his arch nemesis in Sean O'Malley, but he submits him. Just amazing. Just amazing, making him tap out. It came out of nowhere. It made the fight exciting. And Merab went utterly ballistic after he did. And to make matters better, it was a reverse guillotine. It was almost like a reverse Ezekiel choke as well. It was very odd. I think it goes down as a guillotine. It was nasty though. Literally just twisting the head, twisting the neck of Sean O'Malley, and getting the win and getting his second title defense of the year. So amazing work from Merab Dvalishvili against Sugar Sean O'Malley. Great honorable mention, or I guess not honorable mention, but finished in the top 5 for my submissions of the year. As well, Charles Oliveira versus Mateusz Gamrot. I mean, what gets better than a Charles Oliveira submission then a Charles Oliveira main event submission in Brazil. Just doesn't get better than that. And to make matters even crazier, this is the first time Mateusz Gamrot's ever been finished in his career. And I've seen this guy almost be finished tons of times. Charles was calculated. He almost did it at the end of round 1, and he did it in round number 2, and it was bloody brilliant. Charles Oliveira, rear naked chokehold. I mean, just a submission king in the UFC, finishing king in the UFC. Charles Oliveira, one of my favorite. He's up there. Top 5 favorite fighters of all time for me. Love you, Charles Oliveira. Then, next up, Leon Edwards, Sean Brady, UFC London. Now, was it the most glamorous? No. At the end of the day, it's just normal guillotine. But, we can't look at the Leon Edwards that was knocked out by Carlos Prates or the Sean Brady that was finished by Michael Morales. You have to go earlier to the year in March. Sean Brady has bounced back from his defeat against Bilal Muhammad. He's gone out, he's beaten Calvin Gastelum, he's beaten Gilbert Burns, and now he's getting the number 1 contender in Leon Edwards. And what does he do? He utterly dominates Leon to a point where he submits him in front of his hometown crowd in London, England. Utterly crazy. Now, this isn't a fight I would go back and rewatch if I were you. It's pretty much just Sean Brady just dominating Leon Edwards. But watching it live, you're so shocked because even when Bilal was dominating Leon, it wasn't to this degree. When he beat Leon, he landed 9 takedowns. Leon was getting up. Leon actually won the final round. But here, Leon couldn't move. Leon got taken down once. In the fight. 4 takedowns for Sean Brady, 4 rounds this went. And he submits him with a guillotine. First time in his career he's ever been finished. This was crazy. Goes up there for submission of the year for me. Is it glamorous? No, but it is nasty. That crank with the guillotine. Oh, painful. Simply painful. And then my final honorable mention. This could be a lot of people's submission of the year, but I got to give it to Gene Silva and Bryce Mitchell. Just, I don't even hate Bryce Mitchell. A lot of people hate Bryce Mitchell. I don't. All right, Gene Silva. Love Gene Silva, except when he was fighting Diego Lopez. I was rooting for Diego Lopez. He was a bit too cocky against the guy Diego Lopez, which you just can't be cocky about. But the entire build-up to Silva and Mitchell was fantastic. Round 1 was super competitive. But then we get to round 2. He drops him. He locks that arm triangle. It just made it look too easy. And when he submitted him, making Bryce Mitchell tap, he went nuts. He went absolutely crazy. He's barking on the cage. He's yelling at the fans. He's still yelling at Bryce Mitchell. It was nuts. I absolutely loved it. One of the best submissions of the year. But you may be wondering, Zach, what is the submission of the year? And what if I were to tell you there isn't a submission of the year? There's actually one fighter who is going to win submission of the year. You're going to be looking at me. You're going to go, Zach, that makes literally no sense. What are you talking about? I'm talking about a man named Walter Walker who got not 1 round 1 heel hook, not 2 round 1 heel hooks, but 3 sub-90-second round 1 heel hooks in 2025. I've never seen it. You're never going to see it again. To make matters better, he got his first one in August of 2024. So within almost a calendar year, I'm talking a year and 3 months, he landed 4 round 1 heel hooks. But we're looking specifically at 2025, minute and 17 seconds in February against Dontel Mays, 54 seconds against Kenny Achukwu in July, and a minute and 24 seconds at UFC 321 in October against Louis Sutherland. And is it going to be a specific one of those fights? No. It's going to be collectively the Walter Walker heel hook is your 2025 submission of the year. It makes no sense, guys. It makes no sense. We're literally, it's like, it's coming and you still can't stop it. It is crazy. It was utterly nuts. And just in general, the Walter Walker heel hook wins your submission of the year. And it's just nuts. It's just nuts. And he's got big opportunities ahead of him. This guy has 0 ranked wins. And he's ranked number 14. Let me just tell you, Louis Sutherland, Dontel Mays, and Kenny Achukwu are not top 10 talent, and he's ranked at number 14. And he wants to just fight lower-level guys. I think he wanted to fight Josh Hokett, for goodness sakes. But they're putting him in the rankings. He's probably going to have to fight upwards, I guarantee. And, yeah, it was fun. It was a fun year to be a Walter Walker fan. Shout out to Walter, on the list of, fighters of the year. Just a great year from him. But, yeah, his heel hook alone wins your submission of the year. Now, to what everyone loves, the flashy knockouts. And I'll hop on the bandwagon. I love the flashy knockouts. And we have 5 knockouts on the list for knockouts of the year. And this one was tough because 2025, you can go watch the compilations everywhere, had so many knockouts to a point where it's like, you can't just choose one. So we had to just settle on what I think is the knockout of the year. Now, all of these All these I love. There's many more I'm missing, but we're only going to talk about these 5 just for the sake of not going over every single one. But first up, shout out to Ju Sang-yu and Jeka Saragai. Now, obviously, Ju Sang-yu was knocked out by Daniel Santos. All right, Ju Sang-yu, not the best year for the man. But, you have to understand, him versus Jeka Saragai, just crazy. 28 seconds in. Jeka puts the pace on him, kind of has Ju Sang-yu on the back burners, and literally just lands a hook, and Jeka Saragai goes springboard on his feet, and then just face plants to the canvas. It's nuts. It's nuts. Watched in full, 28 seconds. I was watching at my buddy's house with his family, and they're already all going, oh my gosh, that was insane. That was nuts. And that's because it was. That's because it was Ju Sang-yu face planting Jeka Saragai, one of the best knockouts of the year. Mind you, it was on UFC 316, a card where, a lot of good happened, a lot of mediocre happened, and this was one of the more exciting moments, easily the best moment of the prelims, and it is on the list of knockouts of the year. Next up, Mauricio Ruffi, Bobby King Green, UFC 313. I mean, you just can't not pick it. You can't. I mean, this is going to be one of the best knockouts you ever see. Spinning back kick, clicks Bobby Green, literally clips him on the head as he's moving. He literally just falls face down to the canvas. Goes off the cage, head hits the mat. I mean, just nasty. Mauricio Ruffi doesn't even need a follow-up shot, just solidifying how good the fighting nerds are, and just amazing. Just amazing work from Mauricio Ruffi. Now, obviously ended the year, Benoit Saint-Denis get the better of him, but we aren't even going to talk about that because he had such a good performance here. 2 minutes and 7 seconds. Never even gave King Green a chance to get going because he clipped him with this head kick so early on. So, shout out to Mauricio Ruffi. Know the year didn't end well for you, but you were easily one of the best knockouts of 2025, and some people are going to have this being their knockout of the year. Next up on the list, got to go to Quinlan Sakyad, your Rookie of the Year, and Nasrat Haqparast. It's that good. It's that freaking good. I mean, one of the best head kicks I've ever seen. I've seen a lot. It's the best looking one I've probably seen. It is just so nasty. Just literally something out of EA Sports UFC 5. Clips him with the casual head kick, and he literally just goes limps. And it's like when he hits the canvas, it's not like he's flat right away. He bounces. Like it's literally like a plop, and it just, it doesn't even need a follow-up shot. It's nasty, it's dirty, and it propelled Quinlan Sakyad to the top of people's radar for Rookie of the Year. And look at that. He won Rookie of the Year thanks to this knockout, so shout out to that. The other one I have to shout out is Leron Murphy versus Aaron Pico. And honestly, I just want to shout out, while it's on my mind, the Carlos Prates knockouts of Jeff Neal and Leon Edwards, both of them on the radar. When I'm thinking of that, Michael Morales over Sean Brady, that was fantastic. Benoit Saint-Denis over Benil Dariush was fantastic. Bo Nickel over Rodolfo Vieira was fantastic. All those just kind of come to mind when I think about this just fight right here, just because of all those fighters being around the same area, but or like time of the year where this took place. But Aaron Pico versus Leron Murphy. Aaron Pico is just getting the better of Leron Murphy. Like, Leron Murphy is staying active, but, Pico's taking him down. Pico has him on the back burner. And then, seemingly out of nowhere, he just rattles off this nasty spinning back elbow, clips him right on the jaw, and he just falls right directly backwards. It is just one beautiful motion. You hear the crack of it, lands a cheeky little follow-up punch, and it is just so fun. It is so fun. I would have loved to have given this knockout of the year if it hadn't been for the next fight we're going to talk about. But this was just amazing, just phenomenal. And the fact it didn't earn Leron an automatic title shot still baffles me. Because it was that good where it's like, okay, let's just give this guy the freaking next title shot at featherweight. Because this was that amazing. But it cannot win the knockout of the year, and similar to a lot of these, it's the obvious, it's cliche, but Ilia Topuria, Charles Oliveira, it's hard not to choose. All right, no one has put Charles Oliveira's lights out like that in his entire career. Literally 1-2 combo, his lights are out cold. No one's done it in 2.5 minutes. No one's done it to become a double champion like Ilia Topuria did in the main event at International Fight Week after getting taken to the ground and having his back taken by Charles Oliveira, gets back to his feet, and literally 1-2 combos him. And just, Ilia Topuria is on the run of a lifetime. It sucks he's not going to be fighting for almost a year, but yeah. Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira, knockout of the year. It's just, I hate that I have to choose it. I really do, but I just got it. It's that good, guys. You've seen it, you know it, and there's a reason it wins. Knockout of the year for me. It is that freaking good. But before we get to male fighter of the year, we do have to give a shout out to the ladies. ladies, and this was kind of a down year for the ladies. I will say overall, the women's divisions kind of took a hit this year, but we do have a couple of ladies to shout out before we give off the obvious Women's Fighter of the Year. First up, Kayla Harrison. Only one fight this year, only one fight booked, only one fight active, but she becomes the women's bantamweight champion in her third fight. She has been regarded for a long time as one of the best women outside of the UFC, and she comes in, dominates Juliana Pena, Kimura in round 2, as it should be. Got to give a shout-out to her. Also got to give a shout-out to Mackenzie Dern. Wins the main event to start off the year and then ends the year as your new women's strawweight champion. What a year for Mackenzie Dern. 2-0, to a main event win and a championship win to become women's strawweight champion, and not even like an interim champion, like the official champion in the UFC's eyes. So shout out to her as well. Gotta give someone you may not even know. This is the number 15th ranked, might even be 14th now in the women's bantamweight division. Jocelyn Edwards and La Pantera had a good year. 2 fights, 2 round 1 knockouts of Chelsea Chandler and Priscilla Castrado, putting both of them out cold. I mean, I can't believe she hasn't got more opportunities after that. I mean, truly 2 great knockouts. She is on the list of the top women's fighters of the year. Amazing work for her. And then, of course, gotta give a shout out to Natalia Silva. Natalia Silva comes in, faces the former champion Alexa Grasso, stunts on her, and goes from being ranked 15-2. Like we mentioned her earlier, like going from being ranked 15-2 is just no easy stat. And she was actually ranked number 1 at the time, because Manny Fiorot obviously picked up a win and passed her, but at the time she went from 15-1, which is just nuts. So shout out to her, but the obvious one is Valentina Shevchenko. Valentina Shevchenko is your 2025 Women of the Year, Women's Fighter of the Year, and honestly deserved, defends against Manny Fiorot in a close fight, and then shuts out the next closest competitor to her, people saying that she's better than, that's Zhang Wei Li. Stunts her out across all 5 rounds, made it look easy. 2-0, 2 title defenses. Valentina Shevchenko back to full form, and I'll be excited to see what she does in 2026. I'm thinking she's maybe got 1 more year left in her. She's 37, so she wins your Female Fighter of the Year, but shout out to her. She was just, she deserves it, but honestly, no one really else can, compete. But also shout out to Fatima Klein, 3-0 this year. Your Women's Rookie of the Year. There isn't enough women to go over, so Fatima Klein just wins Women's Rookie of the Year, even though it's not an official award. But here it is, your official men's fighter of the year. Everyone cares about male fighter of the year, and this one was tricky. And I think a lot of it is because in past years, it was obvious. Last year you had Alex Pereira. In fact, it was a debate up between Alex Pereira and Ian Topuria, where it was like 2 really obvious choices. But this year, it just isn't as obvious, so we do have some fighters to shout out. First one, I want to give a shout out to Raoni Barcelos, just because he's not going to get any love this year. He went 3-0 at 38 years old and defeated Peyton Talbot, Ricky Simone, and Cody Garbrandt. Now, he's nowhere near these guys, but do got to give him a little shout out. So just want to say that. But first up, of course, we got to give a shout out to the man, the boy, Joshua Van. I mean, it's just impossible not to shout him out. I mean, just a great year for him. We've already mentioned him here on the episode. A great run for him. Takes on the undefeated Rei Tezura, then goes and knocks out Bruno Silva. Fight of the year, of course, against Brandon Royval. And then no matter how the title fight went, he got a title fight and won it. So 4-0 in 2025 with a fight of the year and 2 knockouts, including he technically has a TKO win over Alexander Padoa. Crazy enough. So shout out to Joshua Van. He's not going to win it just because of the scenario with the championship fight, but he's in the running. He's gotta be in the top 3 for fighters of the year. Next one up, Waldo Cortez Acosta. I slept on him all year. I slept on him even up until he got into this position. But 4-1 on the year, 3 knockouts. His only losses is Sergey Pavlovich, and he's ranked number 5 in the men's heavyweight division. And by the way, 2 fights in November. He fought twice in 21 days. Shout out Waldo Cortez Acosta. Knocks out Shamil Gaziev. Knocks out Ante Delege. Defeats Sergey Pavlovich, and knocks out Ryan Spann. What a year for Waldo Cortez Acosta. One of the more underrated names you're going to hear. Great year for Salsa Boy, and honestly, he's in for a big and fun 2026. He's already kicking off the year against Derek Lewis, and I think that's on the prelims right now. That's how loaded that card is. I'm sure they're going to bump that to the main card. And then the last fighter I do got to give a shout out before we get into the top 2. I'll say it's going to be Melquizael Costa. Melquizael Costa had himself a great year. 4-0. 2 finishes, and a fight of the night. And that knockout of Morgan Cherie on the final card of the year is one of the sneaky knockouts of the year. Just phenomenal. Came out of nowhere, minute and 14 seconds. Just phenomenal. The fight of the night against Julian Erosa was amazing, submitting Andre Fili, and truly fraud-checking Christian Rodriguez. I'm so glad he beat him in Mexico City. Great work from Marcos Costa, the only fighter to go 4-0 in the year. Waldo went 4-1. We forget about that, but Marcos Costa went 4-0. And then we get into the final 2 fighters. And you know what? I would have loved to have picked Merab Dvalishvili. I really would. 4 fights, 3 title defenses. He had himself an amazing year. Obviously, 2 of the best fights of the year against Petr Yan and against Umar Nurmagomedov, submitting Sean O'Malley, just the utter war with Corey Sandhagen, 20 takedowns, almost knocking him out. But he didn't end the year as champion. And more often than not, it's going to be the fighter who ends the year as champion. And the man who fought twice this year and he was dealt a certain kind of cards, and he dealt with them, and he handled the pressure well. Islam Makhachev is my 2025 fighter of the year. That is right. Islam Makhachev is my 2025 male fighter of the year. He ended the year number 1 pound-for-pound fighter on the planet. He was going to fight Arman Tsarukyan. He ended up fighting Renato Moicano in 24 hours' notice. People give Moicano credit. Let's give Makhachev credit. He did not have to do that. Makes 4 minutes work of him. Then clamoring for a fight all year, eventually gets the double title opportunity. It's in a favorable matchup against Jack Del Maddalena. He is just fighting the men that the cards have been dealt, and he makes easy work of him, wins all 5 rounds, and becomes the double champion at lightweight and welterweight. Just phenomenal. Just great. And yeah, people are going to hate. People are going to say it should be Merab, but 3 title defenses is nice, but if you can't end the year as champion, you know what? He was chasing greatness, and he's just going to fall just short. So my fighter of the year, your male 2025 fighter of the year, is Islam Makhachev. Absolutely brilliant. And I think there's no better way to end the episode than on that. It's a long one. We haven't gotten up to 2 hours in a long time, gang. It's been a fat minute. So with that, Benoit Saint-Denis, comeback fighter of the year. Quinlan Sakiad, rookie fighter of the year. Walter Walker wins submission of the year with all his heel hooks. Ian Topira versus Charles Oliveira, knockout of the year. Jiri Prochaska versus Khalil Roundtree, comeback fight of the year. Brandon Royval versus Joshua Van, fight of the year. And Paris wins event of the year, along with Valentina Shevchenko and Islam Makhachev. You're literally 2 pound-for-pound fighters for women's and men's winning fighters of the year. So, ladies and gentlemen, this was a long episode. This was a lot of fun. And those are your official awards for the 2025 UFC year. We got a lot more fun episodes to come in the next few weeks. So, you stay tuned, you stay locked in, and I'll make sure to catch you all next time on the Surprise Jab Podcast.